kukosa uzalendo. Kuna picha zingine huwezi ukaonyesha. Kwa mfano, tukiwa kule Kismayu, tulipigana na wale adui wanaitwa Al-Shabaab. Kuna picha zingine kule ambazo hata wewe mwenyewe hungeweza kutumia mke wako. Shauri ya nini? Zinaweza kuleta hofu. Sasa hawa LSK wanataka kusema ati Kenya ni military state na hatujafika kiwango kile kisheria. Unaelewa? Huo ni uchochezi na hilo jambo si zuri. Tuache kuweka wanajeshi wetu, hata hao wanahabari wanafuatana. Ni haki yao kuonyesha habari, lakini wanajeshi wetu hawana. Unaona wamerudi mahali palipo walipo salama. Wao nafikiri kulingana na mimi, sijui command structure vile ilivyo, lakini kulingana na mawazo yangu ni kwamba wao wanalinda zile sehemu muhimu. Hata wanalinda wananchi, hata wanalinda agencies wasije wakadhurika. Lakini hatujafika mahali hapo. Tafadhali mwanasiasa yoyote na mwananchi yoyote aliyo na hisia za kuhusisha jeshi letu la KDF katika mambo ya siasa, tukome. Haya, la mwisho kabisa,
Bwana Mwithi, kidogo nina swali kwako, kwa sababu unapozungumzia siasa na wanajeshi katika muktadha huu, maandamano na usalama wa taifa, hizi siasa zinaingilia wapi?
Hizi siasa zinaingilia polepole, zinapenyeshwa. LSK wasomi wale wamefanya sheria ambayo iko katika hii katiba kusema this is a military state. Kwani wao wajui ni wapi mifano ya military state? Ziko military state ambazo kama mimi mwaka wa 2007 nchi ya Kenya ilinipatia mimi fursa ya kuwa military observer wa United Nations kule UNMI, ambayo ilikuwa ni UN assignment ya kushikanisha usalama, kuweka peace katika Eritrea na Ethiopia. Walipokataana wakapigana, tukaona maafa mengi. Unaona kule? Sasa tukiwa kule tuliweka amani. Tukiwa pande ile tukaweka amani. Na tulienda kule hata bila silaha yoyote, sababu sisi tulikuwa walinda amani. Nchi ile nikikwambia hakuna wakati wana demokrasia ya ruhusa ya kuchaguana. Unaona? Huo ni mfano mmoja. Haya, kule Sudan mambo yanayoendelea kule saa hii, military officers wawili wameleta hofu katika ukanda ule wa Horn of Africa. Sasa ndio tukasema wanasiasa wetu ama yeyote yule anataka kuhusisha jeshi ni hatari kubwa sana. Tuwache wanajeshi wetu wafanye ile kazi waliandikiwa kikatiba. Unaelewa? Na wanajeshi hawa wamefanya mambo mazuri sana.
Kweli.
Wakati tunavamiwa na adui, unaona vile wamefanya. Sasa hizi tunapoongea, wanajeshi wetu wako mipakani, wako Somali, katikati mwa nchi ya adui wakiweta amani. Wako na familia zao huku, wako na baba zao, wako na ndugu zao Gen Z kama Alfonso Okuku. Tunawatia hofu kule. Kwa hivyo mimi naona nikitoa ushauri kama mzee aliye na tajriba ya mambo ya wanajeshi kwa miaka 34, tafadhali viongozi wetu wote wasijaribu kuingiza jeshi kwa mambo ya siasa.
Shikilia hapo Mwithi.
Tuachie polisi wafanya kazi yao.
Shikilia hapo Mwithi.
Asante sana.
Alphonse, unaonaje? Unaona Meja mstaafu Mwithi yuko sawa ama kuna mahali anakwenda fyongo kidogo?
Maoni yake ni kinzani ya kwamba anaposema kwamba wanasiasa wasilete military katika mambo ya siasa. Unajua sasa hatujua anazungumzia nani, pengine anaongea na Mheshimiwa Ruto. Kwa sababu Ruto ndiye alileta military katika maandamano. Na sisi hatukuwa hata, unajua sisi hata kwa hii maandamano haikuwa imefika kitu tunaita threshold.
Nadhani ilikuwa bunge. Haikuwa mwelekeo moja kwa moja kutoka kwa rais, ilikuwa kupitia kwa bunge la kitaifa.
Dhana yetu sisi ile kitu tunasema, ile maoni yote iko hapa nje ni kwamba kila chochote inaendelea Kenya inachochewa na rais, kwa sababu kila mtu ameingiza kwa mfuko yake. Sasa tunasema hii maandamano haikufika ile inaitwa threshold ya kutoa military kwa their barracks kukuja ku restore peace on the streets. Sisi ile maandamano ilifanyika ya kwanza, pia hata ukiangalia ile gazette notice yenye ilitolewa ati sasa wanajeshi watoke nje wakuje kusaidia ama kupeana reinforcement kwa polisi. Ilifanyika kwa njia ile tunasema ile ya kikatili. Ni nani bunge ipi iliketi ikapitisha? Ni kitu imeandikwa usiku, in less than 2 hours ishapitishwa. That is not how the constitution works. Those are the kind of leadership skills that we are refusing. Hauwezi kaa chini usiku unasema itafanyika aje, simu moja kwa Duale, andika gazeti, kesho ami kwa barabara. Na sasa kwa hivyo mwenye analeta taruki na tabu sana kwa hii nchi ni Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa sababu ile manual, ile curriculum yake ya uongozi ni ya kikoloni, ni ya Moi. Ile kitu lazima afanye kwanza, abadilishe curriculum yake ya uongozi. Ajue ile watu wanaongoza ni wasomi, wengine ni wataalamu, wengine ni hata genius kumshinda. Ni vile tu alikuwa na opportunity ya kufika pale ahead of these other people. So mimi kwa maoni yangu, na hii maoni ni yangu, sio ya NTV. Nasema ya kwamba yule mtu ambaye anaongoza nchi kwa njia isiyofaa ni rais. Na ile kiburi yako naye. Sasa kuna wakati nafika mpaka hata wewe unyenyekee, uambie wananchi poleni kwa ile siku naona hii kitu iko hivi. Kwa sababu unajua rais, mshahara ya rais niko sure inaweza lisha village mzima in 1 month. Sasa yeye anataka tuishi kwa ile lifestyle yake. Mtu anakuambia ati ukinunua gari, ukiendesha kidogo hivi, hiyo ni tax. Mimi nimeshalipa custom duty. Saa zile naendesha gari napeleka mtoto shuleni asubuhi. Ati kuna tax na generate hapa tena. Ukatili kama huo sisi tumekataa. Na ndio maana hii kitu ilileta rage kubwa sana kwa raia. Jambo la mwisho ambalo nataka kusema kuhusiana na mambo ya kuleta wanajeshi kwa maandamano. Hii ni tunaita kwa kizungu ni fear mongering. The state wameona wako kwa kona fulani ambayo kujitoa lazima walete kitu itatua watoto. Unajua ukiona mtoto mdogo na anakusumbua anamwambia unajua nitakuletea Satan na ajui Satan sura yake ni gani. Sasa mtoto anaanza kuogopa tu Satan na ajui Satan anakuwa sura gani. Hii unaona sasa leo angalia wameleta wanajeshi wamewanika wao pale Nyayo Stadium. Unajua mimi nimepita hapo nikikuja hapa. Wameanikwa pale sasa adui yenye wanajeshi tunajua sheria inasema mwanajeshi wetu utaongea tu. Mwanajeshi wetu kazi yao kuu ni ku defend Kenya from external attackers. The citizens who are protesting external attackers, number 1. Number two, what do you consider as a threshold yenye kufanya wanajeshi kutoka nje kuja nje to just threaten presidency? Mpaka saa hii presidency has not been threatened. All the 3 arms of government have not been threatened. What we were doing last time, on Thursday, we have delegated power or donated power to the representatives, because there are 3 types of leadership. Yes. Representative, direct and delegative. So wale representative tulipeleka bungeni, tulienda kuconfirm are they doing the legislative role? We were not demonstrating, we just going to see who is representing us well, who is not. Na ambapo tukaona enyewe kuna wale wanatukosea kwa sababu mimi nimekutuma enda uwakilisha matakwa yangu na interest yangu. Yes. Ukapeleka yako ati ile kitu ilifanya sisi tufike pale ni tulikuwa tunataka kuhakikisha
kule ndani.
Naam, tunataka kujihakikisha. Kulikuwa na fununu wanapewa milioni 200 kila mtu aseme yes. Ni kweli tukafika tukapata wametoroka kwa sababu walikuwa wanahesabu pesa. Wakaenda kwa tunnel kwenda huko. Na sisi hakuna vandalism tulifanya. Sisi tunajua ile vandalism ilifanyika pale kwa kitchen. Those Kenya is a country of tenderpreneurship. Kuna mtu alivandalize hizo vitu apewe tenda yeye akuja kauzie serikali. We know these things, my friend.
Haya, sasa Alphonse, wacha nikujibu kidogo.
Dakika moja nimjibu tafadhali. Nitakupa fursa Mwithi, maana tuna muda wa kutosha. Nitakupa fursa umjibu Alphonse pengine. Hebu fursa nipe kwake Meja John. Nadhani Alphonse ni mjukuu wako unasemaje?
Kitu cha kwanza nafikiri nashukuru huyu kijana kwa sababu ana release vile anavyojua, vile anavyofikiria, vile anavyofeel. But it doesn't mean that what you know, what you feel and what you think is necessarily right. Kwa sababu everything lazima iwe subjected to examination from every direction. Umeshaiona hata kule kotini 2 lawyers walienda the same law school wanatetea for and against a particular person. Na wote wawili ni lawyers. Na kila mmoja anataka kuinterpret the law the way he knows.
Kila mmoja ako right.
Kila mmoja ako right upande yake. Now when things get there, you find that somebody has got to come in between na kusema jamini, hata kama kuna tofauti kati yako na yeye, there is something of greater value we need to follow. Nafikiri kama vile mzee mwenzangu amesema mambo ya LSK na kadhalika. Kweli hawa ni wachambuzi wa law, wanajua. Lakini nimeona kwamba sheria is actually a donkey, an ass. So you ride it the way you want. Na ukitaka kuni-challenge, uwezi kuni-challenge kwa sababu these ass, they are all the same. All donkeys are the same in the world. So inategemea ukishika yako, nishika yangu, na unasema ni yangu, ni yake, ni nini. At the end, somebody has to come in between. So hii maneno ya interpretation of opinion, ni vile nimepongeza kijana. Ameinterpret vile anavyojua. Na pale mbeleni kijana, kabla hujafika, tulikuwa tumechambua ile sheria ambayo inafuatiliwa kuhusu wanajeshi kuhusishwa kwa mambo kama hayo. So ile opinion yako inakuwa overridden na sheria. Kuna sheria. Ya pili, ningetaka kusema ya kwamba at your age, Gen Z, hakuna experience hii mnatumia hiyo interpretation ya hapo. Sisi wazee, one advantage tuko nayo is we look back. The thing ambayo mnaangalia nyinyi vijana Gen Z is you look into books, you read, and it depends how you understand that book. Sisi, we are coming with a script which is alive because we have come through there. Na ni jukumu letu kuwafundisha nyinyi pole twende, kwa sababu siku moja utakuwa kama mimi. Na at that time, utakuwa ukiangalia kule nyuma and you use your experience kuelekeza mambo zilisoko kule mbeleni. Kitu kimoja nataka tukusema, this is a cultural matter. Okuku, I do not know whether wewe umesaliwa kwa in urban ama ulizaliwa rural environment, but it's all the same. Mama ni mama. You don't call her Mary or Pauline, unaita yeye mam. Na akisikia ukisema mam, anajua kwamba kuna respect hapo. Kama ni baba, na baba yako anaitwa Okuku, you don't go to him and say, hello, Okuku. Unamuita yeye dad. Ukimuita yeye dad, umerestore that cultural norms and values and practices ambayo inalete heshima na kucement behavior ya watu katika jamii. This generation, kama vile nilisema kabla Okuku hajaingia, sisi tumepoteza vijana kwa sababu ya kutowaelekeza njia inayofaa kwa mambo ya kinidhamu. So much so that tukiona vile wana behave kwa screen zetu, I look at them and I sympathize. And I say, maybe most of them hawajawahi kuketi chini na mzazi na aambiwe kuna utaratibu fulani, kuna norms, kuna values. Watoto wameenda na ethics, watoto tu wamegrow up, wameenda
kikosi. Baada ya mita 100 hivi tena kuna kikosi kingine, na Wakenya nao wameweza kufika, lakini si kwa wingi sana. Hii ndio eneo ambalo sana sana wanasema ni Kencom. Hapa ndipo magari ya maeneo mengi sana huabiriwa, na ukiangalia ni kwamba hapa maafisa wale wa kupambana na uhalifu na ghasia wamevalia magwanda yao rasmi ya kupambana na uhalifu. Tunaona wameshika doria kabisa. Na hapa kulikuwa na magari mengi sana yale ya kuelekea katika maeneo tofauti ikiwemo ya Kawangware, maeneo ya Kibra, maeneo ya kule Ngong Road. Kulikuwa na magari mengi sana hapa, lakini yaliweza kuondolewa yote, na ndipo maafisa hawa polisi wakaweza kuchukua usukani na kuhakikisha kwamba wanashika doria kwa wingi. Basi ukiangalia kawaida hapa katika eneo hili huwa na watu wengi sana ambao wanaendeleza biashara zao hapa kawaida, lakini leo hamna. Haya yote ni kutokana na taarifa kuwa kungekuwa na maandamano. Kufikia sasa hapa jiji la Nairobi naweza nikadhibitisha kwamba hatujapata kuona hayo yakifanyika. Maandamano hayajaweza kufanyika popote pale, ama hayajaonekana hapa maandamano katika bunge, katika jiji kuu la Nairobi hapa, eneo la kibiashara ambalo wengi husema ni CBD, yani ile Central Business District. Nilivyokueleza, maduka mengi yameweza kufungwa licha ya kuwa hamna maandamano. Maduka mengi ukiangalia yamefungwa. Kawaida huwa yana kuwa na watu wengi sana, na labda wamefunga kutokana na uoga ama kuchukua tahadhari, kwa sababu siku ya Jumanne bidhaa ziliweza kuporwa katika maeneo haya. Tulipata kuona hata maduka mengi sana maduka yakichomwa. Tumekuwa tukizungumzia kuhusiana na jumba la Uganda pale ambalo liweza kuchomwa, na bidhaa nyingi sana na elektroniki, haswa za kielektroniki, zikiweza kuporwa katika eneo ile. Na hivyo ndivyo jiji lilivyo kwa sasa. Hiyo ni taswira kamili ya jinsi jiji lilivyo. Hii ni barabara ya Moi Avenue. Kawaida barabara hili huwa na msongamano wa magari, ambapo wengi hutumia sana barabara hii, na ukiangalia leo ni machache tu magari ambayo yanatumia barabara hii. Unaweza hata ukahesabu labda ni mangapi ambayo yamepita kwa dakika kama 10 hivi zilizopita, kwa sababu hakuna mengi yanayofanyika katika jiji kuu la Nairobi. Na hivyo ndivyo hali ilivyo, na Wakenya wanafuatilia tu kuona ni yepi ambayo labda yatafanyika, na pia polisi hawataki wakapata watu ambao wanajikusanya katika sehemu yoyote ile. Hakuna kujikusanya katika namna ambayo huenda ikaleta ama ikaibua hali ya hatihati katika jiji kuu la Nairobi. Sasa ninapoingia hapa, ukiangalia utaona kwamba ni barabara ya Tom Mboya, ambapo pia hapa shughuli huwa ni za hali ya juu sana, haswa kwa wale ambao wanaabiri magari kuelekea barabara ya Thika, haswa wale ambao wanaendeleza biashara zao tofauti. Hapa ukipitia hapa katika siku za hapo awali, ungepata watu wengi sana, msongamano wa magari, lakini leo unaona ni kama si wengi sana jinsi ambavyo sisi hupata kuona wakiendeleza biashara hapa siku ya leo. Na duka ni moja mbili, maduka mawili matatu hivi ambayo yameweza kufunguliwa. Labda wengi wana hofu ya huenda wakapoteza mali yao, na ni vizuri kwao kuchukua tahadhari. Hii ikiwa basi ni barabara hii ya Tom Mboya ambayo kawaida huwa ni ya Wakenya huabiri magari katika maeneo tofauti. Wanahakikisha kwamba wameelekea manyumbani, lakini vile vile upande huu huwa ni magari ya kuelekea hata maeneo ya Mombasa Road, maeneo ya Jogoo Road. Pia utaona kwamba kuna magari mengi sana. Ukiangalia upande huu mwingine, nilivyokueleza, maafisa wa polisi wanashika doria sana katika barabara hii, na utaona kwamba gari zinazunguka katika maeneo tofauti, magari ya polisi. Na sasa nikiangalia kwa umbali, naona hawa maafisa ni wengi sana na wanashika doria, wanaangalia hali iko namna gani katika jiji la Nairobi, kuhakikisha kwamba usalama umeweza kuimarishwa. Hivyo ndivyo hali ilivyo, na tutakuwa tukiendelea kukupa taswira kamili ya hali itakavyokuwa na itakavyoendelea kuwa katika dakika ama katika taarifa zetu tunapoendelea na kufuatilia haya ya siku ya leo, maandamano hapa jiji la Nairobi. Narejesha studioni kwa sasa.
Sana. Huyo ni mwenzangu Daniel Kariuki ambaye tutasema ametupiga mzunguko mmoja katika eneo lile la Nairobi, akipita barabara kadha wa kadha kutonesha hali ilivyo, akipita barabara ya Harambe, Moi Avenue, Tomboya hadi kuelekea katika eneo la Jivanji kuweza kuona mambo yakoje, kwa sababu baadhi ya maeneo hayo ndio yalikuwa yakitumika sana kwa watu ama waandamanaji kukusanyika kabla ya kuelekea katika majengo ya bunge. Nataka tuelekee kaunti ya Kisumu ambapo waandamanaji pia kule walikuwa wanajaribu kuelekea Ikulu ndogo ya Kisumu, kwa sababu huo ndio umekuwa wito wao wa siku ya leo ya Alhamisi. Sijui walifaulu ama wamerudi maeneo gani sasa hivi, Bramwell, maana naona kidogo hali ni tulivu kama sivyo kama ilivyokuwa katika jisaa moja lililopita. Bramwell.
Shukran Yeri, na jinsi ulivyosema ni kweli kwamba tuko hapa kwenye hii barabara ya Odinga, na hii nyingine mahali ambapo tumesimama sasa ni mkabala na chuo kikuu cha Maseno hapa jijini. Kando yake kuna chuo kikuu kuna hoteli ya Maseno, kisha baadaye hapa kuna ule mkahawa wa Acacia. Awali kulikuwa na kundi la kwanza la vijana walioweza kufanya juhudi, wakatoka upande wa Kondele wakaja wakaingia katikati ya Kisumu jijini pale, wakaweza kufanya shughuli zao pale. Wakati tulikuwa tukizungumza nao walikuwa wamewasha moto pale. Kulikuwepo na kundi la kwanza la vijana ambao walikuwa wameweza kufunga ile barabara ya kutoka Nairobi kuingia katika jiji la Kisumu. Kisha baadaye wamefanya juhudi vile wakafululiza moja kwa moja hadi upande wa Ikulu ndogo ya Kisumu. Katika ile Ikulu ndogo ya Kisumu wiki jana ama siku ya Jumanne waliweza kufanikiwa kufika sehemu ile, wakabomoa kijisehemu cha Ikulu ile, na hii leo polisi walikuwa macho ili kuwazuia kwamba wasiweze kusababisha hasara kama iliyoshuhudiwa pale siku ya Jumanne. Walipofika sehemu hile walianza kurushiana mawe kama kawaida na maafisa usalama ambao walikuwa wameweza kushika doria katika sehemu hile. Ikawa lazimu wale maafisa wa polisi kutumia vitoza machozi ili kuweza kuwatawanya wale vijana. Na sasa tunavyozungumza nawe ni kwamba wameweza kusukumwa hadi karibu na ule mviringo wa kuelekea katika hospitali ya kaunti ya Kisumu. Kwa hivyo hapo mbele kama mita 500 kutoka hapa mahali tupo kuna utulivu wa hali ya juu, kwani hapa kulikuwepo na baadhi ya shughuli ambazo zilikuwa zinaendelea kama kawaida. Kulikuwepo na wale vijana ambao walikuwa wanasubiri wateja kwa njia ya bodaboda, lakini ule mvangaito ulioshuhudiwa pale, ile purukushani iliyokuwepo pale, ikalazimu hii mikahawa ambayo ipo katika sehemu hii kuweza kufungwa. Wale vijana ambao walikuwa hapa wakalazimika kuondoka, japo kuna chemichemi na za baadhi ya vijana ambao bado wameweka doria pale ili waweze kujipatia riziki ya siku mara moja ama mbili hivi, wakaweza kupata mteja mmoja. Lakini nikueleze kwamba hali ya maandamano hii leo si tete sana kama tulivyokuwa tumezoea hapa Kisumu. Ukilinganisha siku ya Jumanne na siku hii ya leo, kundi lililojitokeza siku ya Jumanne lilikuwa ni kundi kubwa la vijana. Walikuwa wamejipanga vilivyo, walikuwa wamejipanga hadi na vifaa vya kucheza muziki. Tulishuhudia umati wa hawa vijana wakikongamana katika barabara zote za jiji la Kisumu, wakawa ni zaidi ya maelfu ya vijana. Lakini hii leo tulishuhudia tu kundi kidogo na vijana kama mamia ya waliojitokeza kutoka Kondele. Walipofika katika ule mviringo wa kwanza wa Patel pale, wakaweza kutana na kundi la kwanza la maafisa wa polisi waliowatawanya kutumia vitoza machozi. Lile kundi liliweza kustahimili makali yale ya vitoza machozi, wakaja moja kwa moja hadi katikati mwa jiji la Kisumu kwenye ule mviringo wa shule ya upili ya wavulana ya Kisumu. Hapo ndipo walikutana na kundi la pili la maafisa wa polisi. Japo pale walikuwa ni vijana ambao walikuwa wamejaa wafujo, walikuwa wamefunga barabara nyingi, walikuwa wamewasha moto katika barabara ile. Wakaweza kutana na kundi lingine ambalo wameweza kung'ang'ana vilivyo na wale maafisa usalama. Japo haya makundi yalikuwa yanapungua, kiwango chao kilikuwa kinapunguka kwa kiwango cha juu sana. Waliofanikiwa kustahimili makali ya vitoza machozi na kuja hadi Ikulu walifika hapa na kukutana na maafisa wa usalama. Wale maafisa wa usalama ambao hawajavalia sare, ishara tosha kwamba walikuwa mwangoja tu Wakati walipofika wakaanza kurusha yale mawe, basi moja kwa moja wakakutana na makali ya maafisa wa polisi, wameweza kuwatawanya. Lakini cha msingi ni kueleza heri kwamba shughuli zote zimeweza kutatizika katika mji huu wa Kisumu. Kundi lingine la vijana hili limefika. Hili limekuja na baadhi ya wanaharakati ambao wamefika hapa, wanaweza kusonga na vijana kuweza kujaribu kuhakikisha kwamba wanaweza kufikia Ikulu ya Kisumu. Lakini hilo ni kitu swala ambalo tutakuwa tunalifuata kwa karibu kuweza kuona iwapo litaweza kufanikiwa. Lakini nikueleze vile vile kwamba kundi hili ambalo limewasili na huyu mwanaharakati limekuwa likishinikiza kwamba kuna maandamano ya amani. Kwamba hebu tumsikize tu kwa ufupi, labda anasemaje.
Because they tend to believe that William Samoei Ruto was trying to do part of a PR. Yeah. Whatever he was telling us today, that he has rejected the bill and he is directed the bill to be taken back to the parliament, that one is trying to fool the people of Kenya. Yes. We have read the constitution and we know what the law says. Yeah. The law is very clear that once the bill stays for 14 days, then without even the assent from the president, it is assumed to be the law already. Yes. Therefore, we are telling William Samoei Ruto, the best thing that he ought to have done was to tell the chairman of the budget, who is Kimani Kuria, to withdraw the finance bill from the parliament. Yeah. That is when we will be convinced as Kenyans that that bill is no longer there. Yeah. But as we speak today, we still believe that that bill is there, and what the people are demonstrating against is still there. Therefore, we are telling William Samoei Ruto, if he wants safety in this country, let him withdraw that bill completely. Let him withdraw that bill completely. I'm telling us that that bill is still there. That is retrogressive. That is something that we cannot accept as the Kenyan people. People power! People power! People power!
Yeri, ndio hivyo usemi wa baadhi ya viongozi hawa wa vijana ambao wamefika hapa. Sasa tunavyozungumza ni kwamba tuko chini ya mita 20 kutoka katika ikulu ya Kisumu. Lakini kando mbali kidogo kuna maafisa usalama wametulia, wameweza kufunga barabara ile kuhakikisha tu kwamba hakuna lolote la mno ambalo litakuwa linadhihirika leo na kushuhudiwa katika ikulu ya Kisumu. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ambacho tunajaribu kukifuata kwa karibu, kuweza tu kufuatilia, kuweza kujua iwapo kutashuhudiwa purukushani. Ni kueleza kwamba katika eneo hili la Nyanza, vile vile katika upande ule wa Migori, taarifa zinaashiria kwamba kuna watu wawili ambao wamefanya nini, wameweza kupigwa risasi. Bado hatujajua kwamba hali yao iko vipi. Lakini kumbuka kwamba Migori hata siku ya Jumanne tulishuhudia mtu mmoja akiweza kupigwa risasi katika mguu wake, katika paja la mguu wake kulia. Hii leo tunaelezwa kwamba vijana waliofika hapa mapema asubuhi mwendo wa saa 1 tayari walikuwa wameshafunga baadhi ya barabara, wamewasha moto katika nyingi za zile barabara. Ikawa lazima wale maafisa wa polisi kutumia vitoza machozi, walipoishiwa nguvu ikawa lazima basi kuweza labda kufyatua risasi, na kwa bahati mbaya basi risasi zile zikaweza kuwapata vijana wawili ambao hatujajua hadi sasa hali yao iko vipi. Tutakuwa tunafuatilia vile vile kuweza kujua na kuwajuza watazamaji wetu katika taarifa zetu za baadaye kutoka eneo hili la Nyanza mambo yalikuwa yanajiri vipi. Lakini hadi sasa ni kueleze kwamba lile lengo na azma ya vijana kwamba waweze kuifikia ikulu ndogo ya hapa jijini Kisumu haijaweza kufua dafu. Maafisa usalama wameweza kuweka doria vilivyo. Vile vile ni kueleze kwamba biashara zote zimelemazwa. Maandamano ya siku ya Jumanne wiki jana, ya siku ya Alhamisi wiki jana, Jumanne wiki hii yalikuwa yanaonekana kuwa kwa kiwango fulani ni maandamano ya amani. Ya leo yalikuwa na ishara zote kwamba maandamano yale yangekuwa maandamano ya vurugu. Kwa hivyo hivi ni vitu ambavyo tutafuatilia kwa karibu kuweza tu kuangalia nini ambacho kitakuwa kinajiri kutoka katikati mwa jiji la Kisumu. Jiji hili kumbuka kwamba linajulikana sana wakati ambapo tunazungumzia maandamano. Tumekuwa tukishuhudia maandamano kadha wa kadha ya kupinga utawala wa Kenya Kwanza.
Na bila shaka huyo ni Bramwell Bwire akiwa katika kaunti ile ya Kisumu, akiweza kutofahamisha hali ilivyo, yale ambayo yanajiri katika jiji lile, na kwamba hali bado haijakuwa kuja kuwa na amani maradufu katika eneo lile lakini sasa hivi picha unazoziona ni katikati ya jiji la Nairobi, hususan kwenye barabara ya Moi Avenue. Tunaona kwamba ni vijana baadhi yao wakianza kujitokeza, kuanza kukusanyika, wakitaka kuandaa maandamano yao hapa jijini Nairobi, na fahamu kwamba wale ambao walikuwa hapo katika awali waliruhusiwa vitoza machozi wakaondoka, lakini sasa hivi tunaona kwamba bado vijana hao wanaonesha kwamba wanania na ari ya kutaka kuandaa maandamano yao jinsi walivyokuwa wamepanga. Mwenzangu Jeff Kirui yuko pale, labda atueleze mazungumzo ambayo yamekuwa yakiendelea pale ni ya kina nani hasa, kwa sababu tunaona kwamba vijana wanarudishwa nyuma lakini bado wanakuja hadi mbele ya polisi kuendelea kusukuma ule msukumo wao ambao wanataka kufika kule katika majengo ya bunge ama Ikulu vile ambavyo walikuwa wamepanga. Jeff.
Ibra. Gitu.
Na bila shaka hao ni maafisa wa polisi tayari wamerusha vitoza machozi kwa waandamanaji hao ambao walikuwa wanakusanyika pale katika barabara ile ya Moi Avenue. Kama nilivyokuarifu ni kwamba leo hii hawataki hata vikundi vidogo vya maandamano ama vikundi vidogo vya waandamanaji kukusanyika katika jiji hili la Nairobi na hata katika maeneo mengine. Tumeona kwamba punde tu wanapoanza kukusanyika wanatawanywa na hawataki kwamba viweze kukua vikubwa vikundi hivi ama watu waanze kuongezeka na kuwa watashindwa kuwahimili kama ilivyokuwa siku ya Alhamisi. Picha unazoziona sasa hivi, waandamanaji wako upande mmoja, wako kwenye barabara ya Tom Mboya na maafisa wa polisi wako kwenye barabara ya Kenyatta Avenue wakiweka daraja pale kwenye barabara ile ya Moi Avenue ikiwagawanya katika pande mbili, huku waandamanaji wakiimba zile nyimbo zao za kwamba wanataka wakisukuma kile ambacho wanataka kukisukuma, wakiimba kwamba wanataka Rais William Ruto aondoke mamlakani, na vile vile walikuwa wakizungumza wakitoa wito wao kutokana na mswada wa fedha wa mwaka 2024. Lakini sasa hivi wameondoka katika swala hilo, lakini sasa wanaimba wimbo tofauti. Nataka tuondoke katika jiji la Nairobi kidogo, tuelekee katika jiji la Pwani, jiji la Mombasa, kusikia hali ikoje jijini Mombasa, hususan tukifahamu kwamba pia kulikuwa na vikundi vya waandamanaji ambao vilikuwa vimekusanyika katika baadhi ya barabara kule jijini Mombasa, katika barabara za Digo Road, barabara za Moi Avenue, pia wakitoka kule mapembeni wakiwa wanaandamana. Awali hakukuwa na maafisa wa polisi, lakini baadaye tukaanza kuona malori ya maafisa wa polisi yakiingia katikati mwa jiji la Mombasa. Hali iko vipi sasa hivi, Tobias Chanji? Bado waandamanaji wapo ama wametawanyika katika jiji hilo?
Naam, shukrani Yeri. Mida ya asubuhi wakati tulizungumza tulikuwa katika barabara kuu ya Nkuruma ambapo kulikuwa na waandamanaji. Kwa sasa tuko katika barabara ya Moi Avenue katika eneo la mapembeni ambapo maandamano haya yalianzia, na kile ninachoweza kuripoti kufikia sasa ni kuwa maandamano bado yanaendelea. Kutoka maeneo haya waliweza kuingia katika barabara ya Digo, kisha baadaye wakachukua barabara ya Kenyatta wakipitia mitaa ya Majengo na Sabasaba hadi Bakstan, na vile vile kuweza kuregea katikati mwa jiji. Na tofauti na ilivyokuwa maandamano ya Jumanne, kidogo idadi imekuwa ni kidogo leo, japo pia kile ambacho tumeweza kufahamu ni kuwa hakuja kuwa na mwelewano katika makundi haya, huku wakionekana vijana wengi ambao walijitokeza siku ya leo, wengi wakiwa ni watoto wadogo sana, na kuna wakati ambapo wamekuwa wakifanya uharibifu, na japo tumesema pia polisi hawakuwepo, ni malori tu ambayo pia yamekuwa yakipita, malori ya polisi na magari ya maafisa wa polisi tu yakizunguka kushika doria. Lakini katikati au sehemu ambapo maandamano haya yanaendelea, hatujaweza kuona maafisa wowote wa polisi, ila wale ambao tumeona tu ni wale polisi wa trafiki. Lakini doria imewekwa haswa sana katika eneo la Ikulu ya Mombasa, pale ndipo tuliweza kuona maafisa wa KDF ambapo walikuwa ange kuhakikisha wanaendelea kushika doria maeneo hayo. Na kwa sasa tukitoka eneo hili tutakuwa tunazunguka katika maeneo mengine, tunaenda katika barabara ya Nyerere ambapo tumeelezewa pia kuna kikundi kingine cha waandamanaji ambapo wako maeneo haya, na wamekuwa kiimba tu nyimbo za kutaka kung'atuka mamlakani kwa Rais William Ruto, nyimbo ambazo wamekuwa wakiendelea kuimba tangia hiyo siku ya jana, akisema kuwa atafutilia mbali mswada huu wa fedha. Sasa wimbo wa sasa umebadilika na ni kuwa wanataka ang'atuke mamlakani. Hivyo tutaturuhusu kwa sasa tutoke maeneo haya, tuende katika maeneo mengine ya jiji hili la Mombasa ambapo maandamano yanaendelea. Yeri.
Asante sana. Huyo ni mwenzangu Tobias Chanji ambaye yupo kwenye barabara ya Nkuruma kule katika kaunti ya Mombasa akifuatilia hali ikoje, hususan katika jiji lile ambapo kumeshuhudiwa maandamano kwa siku nyingine tena leo hii. Lakini kama alivyotueleza ni kwamba kambe kumekuwa na makundi mawili ambayo yanafanya maandamano hayo, hivyo hakuja kuwa na mwelewano ama mshikamano baina ya maandamano ama waandamanaji, kwa sababu inaonekana kama wote wanasukuma vitu tofauti. Lakini ujumbe umebadilika kama wanavyosema wanahabari wetu ambao wapo katika maeneo hayo. Haya, hizi ni picha za jiji la Nairobi ambapo mmoja wa waandamanaji huyo ametiwa mbaroni na maafisa wa polisi akiwa anaelekezwa kwenye moja ya yale malori ambayo yamekuwa yakitumika sana kuwakamata na kuingiza kule ndani na baadaye kuwapeleka katika vituo vya polisi. Na hivyo ndizo picha hizi za jiji la Nairobi ambazo zinaendelea kujiri. Mimi nataka nifunge virago, nifungashe, niondoke, lakini bado tunaye mwenzangu Dennis Aseto ambaye atakuwa anakuletea matangazo haya mubashara kutoka katika studio zetu hizi, akizungumza na wanahabari wetu vile vile akiweza kufuatilia yale yanayojiri katika maeneo mbali. Usende mbali. Hebu tusikilize huku mwenzangu utakuwa unaungana naye sasa katika muda usiokuwa mrefu. Ni Dennis Aseto.
Wanasema ulikuwa hewani.
Wewe pia ukumbe ulikuwa unanipiga. Cheki.
And those are live pictures coming to you live from the Nairobi CBD as police are taking charge of the security within the town. These after a few minutes ago, we've seen police engage protesters in the CBD. Remember, today the demonstrators had warned that they would be marching towards State House, but that also was matched by the government by saying that they would deploy the KDF, that is the military, to help the police with manning security matters in the country. As you can see, it is a little bit slow today. Kenyans have stayed away from the CBD due to the situation that was there earlier on Tuesday. This as we continue to follow up on what is happening in the CBD. We have our reporters stationed across the country as we continue to bring you what is happening across the country. But now I want us to touch base with our reporter, Jeff Kiri, who is in the CBD, has been at the epicenter of the exchanges with the police using tear gas. Good afternoon to you, Jeff. What is the latest from the CBD, Jeff?
Kenyatta Avenue and Kimadi Street. This is the second line of police defense in terms of trying to restrict demonstrators from making their way to the uptown part of Nairobi. They have been instructed, or so we've been told, that they are under strict instruction from their commanders to ensure that the demonstrators don't make their way to where they have been converging along Kenyatta Avenue outside the I&M building. But a few minutes ago, there was an engagement between those officers, the anti-riot police officers, at the junction of Kenyatta Avenue and Moi Avenue, where they were trying to make their way towards Kenyatta Avenue from the lower side of Tomboya Street. And there has been a bit of exchange lasting for about 5 minutes thereabout, where demonstrators were even actually daring police officers, telling them that they need to make their way to where they have been converging through the demonstration period, all the way from Tuesday last week to Tuesday this weekend, Thursday. And they're insisting that they have to make their way there. But we have been making stopovers along several streets in Nairobi to just know how the situation is. And currently, Parliament building is out of bounds. They're ensuring that no one or no vehicle makes its way through Parliament Road. They have cordoned off the area. There are about 5 lorries of police officers who are waiting there. We've also seen that they have deployed the APCs to try quell the demonstrators who are relentless in their push to make their way to the uptown part of Nairobi. As it stands now, the situation, there are sporadic engagements between the police and the demonstrators, but as it stands now, the situation is a bit calm compared to how it was the last 5 minutes. But as it is now, things are a bit calm compared to even the situation that we witnessed on Thursday when Parliament was debating and ultimately passed the Finance Bill 2024. And you saw yesterday that the President said that he's returning that bill. He's not going to attend to that bill, and he's returning it to the National Assembly with memorandum. And part of the memorandum was that they delete all the clauses. Hopefully, they were hoping that by doing that, their planned demonstrations for today, which they have called it Occupy State House, will not go on as planned. And we've seen the people who have been really pushing on the social media platforms from Facebook, X, formerly Twitter. There is a division among themselves. They are saying that it is not a good idea to make through their push to go and access Occupy State House. And perhaps that is what informs the reason why we are not witnessing so many people gathering in town to demonstrate now that the president yesterday withdrew that bill. But right now, those are live pictures. These are some of the demonstrators are actually relentless. They are pushing to make their way along Kenyatta Avenue all the way to the uptown part of Nairobi. So these are live scenes. They have repulsed them using tear gas canisters. And as it appears, these people, they are very relentless. The police actually under strict instruction, as I earlier put it, that they have been instructed to keep the demonstrators at bay to ensure that they don't make their way to the uptown part of Nairobi. Aseto.
Thank you very much, Jeff, as you continue to bring us up to speed on what is happening in the CBD. And yes, indeed, those are live pictures coming to you from the junction of Kenyatta Avenue and Moi Avenue next to Imenti House as police continue to engage with protesters, lobbing tear gas and making sure that they do not proceed towards the Uptown area, the protected area, as Jeff has rightfully told us, accessing Parliament buildings and other protected areas. We know around Parliament buildings, we have the Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, Treasury building is around there. Pretty much government installations on that side, pretty much the reason why today the police have made sure that the protesters do not make their way towards that side of town. And also, Daniel Kariuki, our reporter, is in town as well. Good afternoon to you, Kariuki. From where it is you are stationed, how does it look? What is the situation like, Kariuki?
All right, Aseto, just like you have put it, and as Kirui has put it, several parts, especially the Moi Avenue part, some of the protesters had started gathering so that they could try to start marching towards Kenyatta Avenue. I'm actually standing just next to the I&M building, just around this place. And as we speak right now, you will see that the motorcycle guys have actually moved from the Moi Avenue side to just try and ensure that they get some area where it is a bit peaceful, because already police officers are using tear gas canisters there to disperse those youths that are gathering towards that side. And already the police officers have taken their place to ensure that they are, the security is beefed up as it should. Now, you recall that in the morning while I was doing the link around these areas, most of the shops across the Central Business District were closed. And right now, as we speak, because of those tear gas canisters that have been hauled at the protesters along Moi Avenue, more shops have actually been closed as we speak right now. And at this point, you can see from the pictures there that police officers have taken their place to ensure that people are not gathering around these areas to ensure that the activities of the day, or people are going on with their activities. Today it has been relatively calm until some 30-40 minutes ago, while those youths started to gather from those sides of Moi Avenue. So this is the situation currently at the Central Business District, some parts of Central Business District where you will realize that there is some calmness that is being witnessed, and also Kenyans going on with their activities. And the numbers also today is a bit different from what we have witnessed earlier. The reason to why you see this area that the police officers have taken are actually manning this area. This is the road that leads to the Supreme Court. And you recall on Tuesday, the Supreme Court area, 2 vehicles were burnt down there at the Supreme Court. And today, that's the reason they are not here. Now, that vehicle that you see there is the vehicle that is having some plainclothes officers who are patrolling the area, patrolling the Central Business District. I remember on Tuesday, that's the same vehicle that was patrolling even along the Parliament Road and around the Parliament buildings, ensuring that the protesters would not have gotten there. So even today, you can see they are going around the Central Business District patrolling to ensure that security has been beefed up, and that Kenyans, or rather the protesters, are not gathering. Remember, they're saying that they're going they have been gathering, and this is very different from what we witnessed on Tuesday, whereby at this particular moment, around this time, this street, the Kenyatta Avenue, was a beehive of activities from the protesters as they tried to make their way to the Parliament buildings. But currently, Aseto, that's the situation, and I have made some several rounds across the Central Business District using several roads, and I can tell you that, well, it's a calm situation, but the activities are minimal compared to the normal days here in the capital city of Nairobi. But that's the situation, and I'll keep the viewer updated as we continue with the coverage today.
Daniel Kariuki bringing us up to speed on the situation on the ground that is in the CBD. Also important to note is that the military has been deployed on the streets to assist the police with maintaining security. This is following the Gazette notice that was issued by the Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale before National Assembly actually discussed that yesterday and passed the same in making sure that the police get the assistance they need from the military. Again, the military have been deployed in the CBD, have been deployed pretty much in the country in order to help the police deal with the insecurity, if any, that comes from the demonstrators. The military have been deployed in the country to assist the police deal with the demonstrators and maintain security in the country. These follows the Gazette notice that was issued by Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale of Defense, and with the matter which was also discussed in the National Assembly yesterday and actually passed and approved by the National Assembly, that would then see the military deployed in the country. Earlier, we saw the military officers around Nyayo National Stadium as they were there with their tankers, making sure that they heed to that call, maintaining security. It is a situation that we continue to follow up in Nakuru as well. Earlier in the morning, earlier in Nakuru County, we also saw military deployed along the road that heads towards the State House. It will be remembered that earlier, as the protests were just starting, protesters moved very closer to the State House in Nakuru, and the reason why today we saw heavy military deployment near State House in Nakuru, and also in Nairobi we saw military deployed, but later with their tankers they made way back to the Ulinzi complex along Langata Road. It is a situation that we continue to monitor today as both the National Police Service, the military work together in making sure that the security of the country is actually assured. And it is a situation that we continue to monitor as police officers, together with the military, work together in making sure that the country is safe and secure. Military have been deployed to the country to make sure that security is actually witnessed and maintained in the country. This following the Gazette notice by Cabinet Secretary for Defense Aden Duale, and which was also discussed in the National Assembly and passed by the members of Parliament yesterday. And yes, indeed, we've seen pictures and images of the military taking charge, making sure that the country is safe. This following the matter to do with the protests that saw Kenyans overwhelm the police, but then again, that was decided that the military would be deployed. We touch base with Jeff Mogira, who is along State House Road. Good afternoon to you, Mogira. You are along State House Road. What's the situation like? How does it look security-wise, Mogira?
Well, Aseto, it's been a very long day since morning, and still we continue to give you coverage 360 around the country and within Nairobi, how the situation looks like. Everything seems calm, so far so good. Earlier we had Nyayo and we escorted, actually it was just like a game military officers were playing with the media, because we went out with them and they ended up in their camp at Ulinzi complex. Later on, when we were leaving Nyayo, they came back to Nyayo. There are very many. They came in their numbers, and they're in Nyayo, and we're waiting to see what they decide, if they're coming out already or not. But we've seen military officers along State House Road as well, and there's not much activity, but they're there. This road here, which is State House Road, has been blocked by police officers who have been deployed here as well to ensure that there's security. But people are allowed to go in if you are a resident here, and if you are known to be walking around this area, you are allowed to go in and coming out. But vehicles or people who are not working in this area or don't reside here, they're not allowed to go in. So we've seen heavy police presence around the State House roads. All entrances and exits of State House have been all blocked by police officers, and their vehicles are here, and then ensuring that nobody goes in, and protesters who are coming, they're not getting here. So about the deployment of military officers, yesterday there was a relief for the LSK that the military shouldn't be deployed, but they are still on the ground. And later on today, we're waiting for High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi by 3 p.m. to rule if the military will go back to their barracks or continue to be on the streets, because Attorney General and the Ministry of Defense went to court to say that the LSK has no jurisdiction and they have no right of requesting the military to go back to the barracks, because they are here to maintain law and order. For now, we wait and see, but everything seems calm. Valley Road seems to be moving on well, and all the way to Kenyatta Avenue and Moi Avenue. We have seen a lorry of police officers on the other side, very many of them in the numbers as well. And these ones here, they're ensuring that they are making sure it goes through. The blockage remains, their car has left, but everything seems to be moving on so well. So far, Seto.
Girek coming to us live along next to State House Road as it brings us up to speed on how the situation looks like. But now we touch base with Moses Wahisi, who is in the CBD, to equally tell us how the situation looks like. Good afternoon to you, Moses Wahisi. Kindly bring us up to speed on what is happening where it is you are. How is the situation security-wise? What can you tell us, Wahisi?
I think at this particular time, Dennis, in the CBD, and this is Moy Avenue to be specific. I know on my left side is the National Archives, and then on my right side is the Kencom area. So if you want to come to the Kencom, and if you're thinking that you want to go to any part of Nairobi at this particular time, and you think that where Kamanim 3, that you will be able to access and get your means of travel to whatever destination. If your stage is Kencom, then you have plenty of reasons not even to come to this side because it has been officially cordoned off. We have high presence of security here from the National Police, and they've cordoned off the stage just outside Kencom. So if you know where Kencom building is, this place is a no-go zone at this particular time, and that way, you know, it leads to the Supreme Court, and then you will also go with that route if you want to access the National Parliament. So on this end, it has been cordoned off. On the National Archives side also, we have a number of police presence here, and behind National Archives, I know we will be traversing that area in a little while. We've had a number of some youths who happen to be a little bit rowdy, and rowdy when we think about what they are chanting and what they are saying. They are trying as much as possible to see how well they can be able to come to this stage. So at this particular time, I know in this place where we are, I know we'll be able to do a number of sports checks just to be able to showcase what exactly is happening, and we'll be able actually to at least update you in what is happening in this side of the CBD. It is not usual business if you're thinking of, because I know the side that we're trying to walk to at this particular time, we have a high presence also of security guards that have tried as much as possible to make sure that a number of youths don't get to the National Parliament moving from this end. But putting that also in perspective, I know as much as we're thinking about the National Parliament, we're also thinking about those individuals who are also saying that they want to go to the State House. We've been able to see what exactly is happening in the side of State House, but earlier on we had a number of tear gas canisters being lobbed in this end, and also where we are heading to, I know there is also a high presence of some security individuals from the National Police, I should say, that they have tried as much as possible to cordon off the youth from coming into the heart of the CBD. So just putting it into perspective, I know today a lot of people are asking a lot of questions. This demonstration for the anti-finance bill, others are also questioning and saying, is it an anti-government kind of protection? Or others are saying, do we just have malice that is coming and spicing it? But also others are saying the Gen Z still have an agenda that they're trying to propel and also trying to push the best way that they can. So it's all about concoction of a little bit confusion, I should say, but also a concoction of individuals trying to sell their agenda the best way that they can do. But in it all, in black and white, it is not business as usual in town. At this particular town, we're moving to Ronald Ngala Street, and at this particular point, you can be able to see the police just trying as much as possible to cordon off even vehicles that are trying to access this area, and they're doing that the best way that they can. And I know this area, some 30 minutes or so ago, I've been told by the people who came here earlier that it was tear gas and running battles the better part of the time. But at this particular time, it looks a little bit calm. But as things are happening and as we are told and as we are expecting, there are some individuals that are trying to regroup, and they're trying to maybe see how well they might be able to come to this side and access this side, and maybe, just maybe, be able to try as much as possible and make their words be heard. Tom Boyer, you can also be able to see what exactly is happening at this particular end. Still the same kind of a scenario. Police presence heavy, so if you're just loitering and you're just standing and looks like you don't know what you're supposed to be doing here, you will be told, Jama, tembea, tembea, and get out of this side. Also, high, heavy kind of security presence here. From the National Police, you will see, they're also trying as much as possible to say that this side, from where they are, that is a no-go zone area. But in a little bit, you can be able to see that there is movement, not the usual movement that you will be able to get a feel of while in the streets of Nairobi. A little bit kind of movement we can be able to see. People are moving with ease. People are trying as much as possible to continue to do their business, but not business as usual, because if you're talking about business as usual in the CBD, then it means a number of these shops at this particular time, they were supposed to be open, but they're simply closed. But also, a number of the police officers here are trying as much as possible also to act as the agents of directing individuals on where to go and also where not to go. So as much as they are there doing what they are doing, I don't know if maybe the guard wants to get a number, but yes, it's all in the spirit of trying as much as possible to make sure that safety remains key. And the protesters, they're not saying that at this particular time they have been allowed to protest, because we won't say they have been allowed to protest because we cannot see any kind of peaceful demonstrations as it were, but this is the feel, this is the situation in this part of Nairobi at this particular time. I know we'll be moving around to be able to see what exactly is happening at the different places in the city, but at this particular time we head to Mombasa to see what exactly is happening on that end, where I know Tobias Chanji has been pitching camp and is informing us the progress that we're having in that end.
Well, a very good afternoon. We are at the State House Way, and you can just see behind me those police officers who are keeping vigil, making sure that no one passes through this side to the other side of State House. Remember, we had a protest for the last 3 hours. Protesters comping the town of Mombasa, and what we understand is that one person has been shot at Buxton because at one time the protesters started becoming violent. With me I have activists from the Haki Africa, maybe to just give for us an update of the protests that have been happening here.
My name is Salma. We've witnessed a lot of youth who have come out largely to protest peacefully, and they started on so well until when we reached at a roundabout where other youth joined in, and when they joined in, they started looting shops. They started, snatching things from people, and that completely destroyed everything. We've also noticed that the police were attacked with stones that led them to also shoot one of the youth who was rushed to the hospital. What we are trying to say is we are happy that the president has decided to, withdraw from the finance bill, but we also want now to go back to our drawing box, whereby we can have a discussion with the multi-sectorial people, whereby we can sit and think how we can move forward. We don't want to take our country into anarchy. We want the youth now to sit, reflect, and get to see how now we can engage. And in future, the leaders should always ensure that our youth are brought into the tables where we have these discussions.
Okay, let me invite Matthias Shipeta. Does it also mean that these protesters, with the fact being that they are leaderless, that's why we've come to this?
Yeah, I think the major problem with this issue is that the protesters do not have a leader, do not have an organization, do not have any tribal affiliation to anybody. But one thing we must say now is that the people's voice has been heard. And yesterday's the president conceding that he has been able to agree with the people's issues, I think is an important factor. And for now, we are calling for constructive dialogue, accountability for the people that have actually been killed during this protest. The families must be compensated for the people that have actually lost their lives. So I think it is time now to call for calm as we bring dialogue into perspective to be able to handle the issues that are actually in the country. But the problem is the youths do not have a leader. When we are trying to tell them not to do this, it is becoming very difficult to be able to control them. So all we are calling for is constraint and people to exercise calm as we be able to have dialogue with the national government.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. That is Mathia Shipet and Salma, both from Haki Africa. And most of the roads, or rather avenues and streets, have remained relatively calm apart from Digo Road, Kenyatta Avenue, and some of the few streets that witnessed some violent protests in the morning. And as they rightly put it, police officers also came in hand to make sure that they've calmed the situation. But just this road that leads to State House, what we've been told is that anyone maybe who want to pass through here, you have to get direct permission from the county commander for you to go through this particular road that leads to State House, then all the way to Mamangina, then to Likoni Ferry. From here, it's back to you in studio.
Tobias Change joining us from Mombasa County, bringing us up to speed on what is happening. But those are live pictures from the Nairobi CBD as the police continue to clear the roads. We see that debris has been thrown on the road and tear gas being lobbed. These as the police continue to make sure that the CBD is free from any protest. Also on the left side, that is outside, looks like Menti. As we continue to bring you the very latest, the police asking those that are gathering there to leave and make sure that they stay clear of any forms of any form of gathering. Pretty much that is along Tomboya Street, Ronald Ngala, as you go down towards downtown. That would join River Road down there. And these are just the live images that we are getting from the Nairobi CBD with regards to the security that continues to be enhanced by security officers. Remember that the military has equally been deployed to assist in maintaining law and order. We have our reporters stationed in making sure that we bring you the very latest what is happening across the country. As we sit here from the other end, you would see there is some sort of gathering, some crowd on the other end. We're not certain what is happening there, but all we know is that the police officers are stationed there in making sure that there is law and order. We continue to bring you the very latest with regard to the protests. Remember, today was the day that the protesters, pretty much the Gen Z and Kenyans, had said that they would be going to occupy State House. And outside State House, we know that the security is tight. You cannot access that road. You need clearance to use that road. But this is the downside of town. This is Tomboy joining Ronald Ngala as you go down. In making sure that security is actually maintained. We see a police vehicle parked down, border riders there to do their business. But of interest to note is that businesses along this route have actually just shut down because of what was witnessed the other day. Shops were looted in the CBD. But here seems to be a standoff between what looks like the police and a crowd from the other end. If you just proceed down towards River Road, there seems to be a crowd that has gathered, and the police are there to make sure no form of gathering is actually proceeding towards the upper side of town. And these, on your right, that is also the CBD that is leaving Kenyatta Avenue as you go towards GPO. The security is also tight, but nothing much happening on this road. On a normal day, this would be a busy street. This would be busy as people go about their businesses, as public services vehicles continue to ferry people in and outside town. But today it is a ghost town pretty much. Nothing much happening on this road, but we continue to bring you the very latest on the situation, what the situation is like. That is All Saints Cathedral, which played a role in actually having protesters. It actually acted as a hospital where emergency services will be issued to those who were hurt. As you go further up, that would be the junction that connects you to Upper Hill and further ahead towards Valley Road. On your left of your screen, that is the CBD. As you can see, police officers, both uniformed and in plain clothes, just making sure that they maintain security, making sure that nothing much happened, no form of protest is taking place. But here is the road on your right. That is the State House Road, the road that goes up towards State House, and that actually even has a barrier on the road. You cannot access that road going towards State House. But what you're seeing on the screen right now, this is the CBD as you go towards Valley Road, around Ronald and Gala commercial area. As the police have a police vehicle is there, you can see police officers, the anti-riot police officers, uniformed and non-uniformed, plainclothes police officers equally there, making sure that security is enhanced. Those are live pictures. We wait to see what exactly is happening here. There seems to be a standoff between police and what would be a crowded further down, as we can see. But the police are there to make sure that no crowds actually advance towards the upper side of town. It will be remembered that there were meeting stations near I&M building, but today that has not managed to be successful. Earlier there were a little bit of push and pull with police officers near Imenti as tear gas was lobbed, and the protesters were actually pushed further down. As you continue to see, they continue to be pushed further down as we continue to follow up on what is happening not only in Nairobi but across the country. Moses Wahisi is actually here at Tom Mboya, if I'm not wrong, or Moi Avenue. If you just bring us up to speed, Wahisi.
I said we were at Moi Avenue, so we came to Tom Mboya, and at this particular time we are at Luthuli Avenue. I know when you are at Luthuli Avenue, if you understand this side, then we have Mfangano Street on the other end. And that is when you're thinking if you want to go on the other sides of the downtown. Now, let me explain what is happening here. We have a number of some police officers, not in uniform, I must say, but also others in uniform. I will also point that out. And then we have a number of individuals holding some kind of rods, we should call them. And others are asking what exactly is happening at this end. Now, earlier we've been told that a number of some rowdy youth wanted to come to this side to loot the shops. So most of the people are protecting their property. That is what they are saying. They're trying as much as possible to make sure that the boys that were trying as much as possible here to come and maybe vandalize their shops. You can be able to see that the shops have been closed at this particular time. So they are trying as much as possible to make sure that they are protecting their property, not the number of individuals with the roads. And kama umewahi tumia jembe pengine utajua wanajaribu kwa vyovyote vile kusema kuwa watakuwa na linda mali yao. And you can see even what is happening at this particular time. This looks like a guy who is under the influence of something. So he's trying as much as possible to cause mayhem. And you can be able to see, they will be able to ransack you and they will tell you to get out of here, because earlier on, a number of guys came here. They tried to see how they might be able to get access to the shops that are here. And that is why these individuals are trying as much as possible to protect their property. And that is what is happening at this particular hand. We had a number of individuals here who were in uniform, but they have dispersed from this place at this particular hour because the guys that are here, they have said they will do what they have to do to protect their property. So in long and short, they've said they know each other. They will stand guard outside their properties, and they will try as much as possible to make sure that they do protect what is theirs. And that is a number of the shops that are at this particular end. So that is what is happening at this particular end. And I think in just a nutshell, if you're not known at this particular zone at this particular time, the individuals who have shops here, and this is Luthuli Avenue to be specific, they have said they must protect what is theirs, and that is why utaona wamajama wengi sana hapa wameshikilia marungu for the purposes of protecting their places of business. Back to you, Seto.
Their own hands to safeguard their property. But what you're seeing on your screen on the right, that seems to be Moi Avenue, where tear gas is being lobbed. It seems like we have protesters on the road trying to ignite fire on that road, pretty much, that is on Moi Avenue as you go down towards, that should be Haile Selassie. And it is a matter that we continue to follow. But as Moses Wahisi has said, their police officers, together with the owners of the shops, are there. We have plainclothes police officers. It is really difficult for you to know who is an officer, because even the locals there, the owners of those shops, have armed themselves with the batons, making sure that they take care of their property, saying that they will do what it takes to make sure that their property is safe from any would-be looters taking advantage of the protests in order to go and loot from those shops. But what you're seeing equally right now seems like people have gathered. Is it the protesters who've come together and trying to air their views? That we wait to see. But slowly but surely, the numbers are increasing in the CBD. Those are live images coming to you. That is the commercial area. Opposite is National Archives. Those are anti-riot police officers. And yes, indeed, the crowd seems to be gathering and gaining momentum as days go by. We continue to keep tabs on the developments in the CBD. We are here to bring you the very latest on what is happening. See that our reporters are moving to areas that are safe for them, so that we are able to bring you this. Remember that a crowd is gathering, police officers are there, and these looks like the military that is now entering the CBD. The APC's armored personnel carriers are there. We can see them being deployed, coming to assist the police in maintaining law and order. We can confirm that that is the military that has just entered the CBD. These are anti-riot police officers. We see that there is a crowd that is gathering. We wait to see how these will progress moving forward. But this is Tom Boyer. That looks like Ronald Ngala as you go down. But we can confirm that there is heightened security in the CBD. Reinforcements have been sent. We wait to see how these will progress. Our reporters are stationed in various places across the country as we continue to bring you the very latest.
Na bila shaka mtazamaji, tunaendelea na kwa kweli ni mengi ambayo yanaendelea katika jiji la Nairobi. Waandamanaji ni kama ambao kwa wanawasindikiza wanajeshi.
Tokea upande wa Jivanjova.
And those are live images coming to you from the Nairobi CBD as we continue to witness what is happening there. There seems to be a police shield along the Ronald Ngala as you go towards Moi Avenue. But then again, remember that the military has been deployed to assist the police with regard to maintaining security. As earlier seen, we've seen military actually in the CBD with their APCs, armored personnel carriers, and also in their vehicles just patrolling the CBD, making sure that security is enhanced. This is after that gazette notice that was issued by Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale and later debated in Parliament and actually approved by the members of the National Assembly that made it possible for the military to be deployed to assist the police in maintaining law and order. It is a new situation that we continue to witness in the country today. In Nakuru, we saw military officers near the State House. As well in Nairobi, we've just seen military in the CBD, making sure that security is maintained in the city. The CBD continues to witness increased activity as protesters seem to be gathering, dealing with the police officers as they continue to champion what it is, their message. But we also have witnessed owners of shops there along Luthuli Avenue doing everything. They say they will do everything they must to make sure that security is maintained and their shops are actually safe and secure. These are live images coming from the Nairobi CBD. Live images coming to you from the Nairobi CBD, but the situation is also pretty much the same in Kisumu County. Let us cross over to Bramwell Bwire, who has been keeping tabs on what is happening in Kisumu County. Good afternoon to you, Bwire, and kindly, what is the latest from Kisumu?
Well, thank you, Dennis. As you said, yes, we here in Kisumu City, And the place you're standing is the roundabout of Kisumu Boys. This is the roundabout leading to Busia County. It's leading to Nairobi. It's leading to the State House. Then the other road takes to Kondele, then to Kakamega. I have to tell you that there have been concerted efforts from the demonstrators from both ends. There are some boys who are standing on the far end of Busia route. The others are standing at the bus stage. That is on your way to Kondele. Then there is one that is standing at a place called Kachok. That is on the Nairobi way to Kisumu City. These efforts initially started early in the morning with the first group that left Kondele around 9 a.m. being dispersed at a place called Patel. That is when you're taking your route to Kisumu International Stadium. They were dispersed there. There are a few guys who managed to survive the tear gas and made their way to the CBD. When they arrived here at the roundabout, there is a Kisumu Boys roundabout, they found another contingent of security officers here. They dispersed them. The boys were really up in their arms, and they were really resisting any efforts by the police officer, to an extent that there are some of the police vehicles that have been stoned here in Kisumu. This has forced the police officer to get a tanker that has been of help to disperse these rowdy youths from the CBD out of Kisumu town. But I also have to tell you that the boys started their efforts to go to the airport. As the cameraman is showing there, that is the Busia route. There are some boys who are coming all the way from Aga Khan through the Kisumu Boys roundabout. They are trying to see if they can get their access to the CBD. These boys today are behaving in an abnormal way. We've seen them demonstrating the other week on Thursday. We saw them demonstrating on Tuesday. But today there is some element of rowdiness. The peace that we have seen in the other demonstration is no longer there. Today, they have even scared away the few shop owners who are continuing to operate normally. But this has always been the situation in this particular time. Whenever we have demonstration, I don't know what has motivated them today to behave in this particular way. But I have to tell you that in this particular region, that is the Lakeside region, we're also talking about Homa Bay County, we're talking about Migori County, Siaya, and here in Kisumu. In Migori County, as you're speaking, reports confirm that at least 4 protesters have been shot. We don't know the status of their health up to this particular point, but also have been made to understand that 2 police officers have been critically injured and rushed to hospital. That one shows you the magnitude and the extent where these protesters are willing to go so that they can be able to access the state lodge. Here in Kisumu, their main aim today was to access the state lodge, but that one has not been able. The police officers here have been steadfast to ensure that no act, no element of these rowdy youths will make their way to the state lodge. Remember, on Tuesday, there are some of the youths who tried their level best and arrived at the gates of the state lodge, and they did some serious vandalism at that particular place. But today, the police officer have barricaded that road. We have the first contingent of police officer standing right at the state lodge to ensure that none of the youths who managed to get through this particular place gets access and their way to the state lodge. These particular boys in the morning, they've also lit some bonfires across the main roads of this particular place. They have blocked major roads that are coming to this particular city. I'm talking about that road from Nyamasaria all the way to Kisumu City. The boys have barricaded the road using electric poles, and they have also barricaded that road from Kakamega. And as I'm speaking about Kakamega, I'm told my friend and colleague Alan Ochanda is in that particular area. Alan, if you can get me, kindly paint a picture of what is happening in Kakamega County.
Comparatively, it's lesser, and so you can see it's a handful of demonstrators and Of course, we've seen military personnel, a van carrying military personnel moving around in the streets of Kakamega to just ensure that nothing breaches security. Remember that yesterday, when the whole country experienced those demos in their respective magnitude in those towns here. We saw the repairs where they can have, of course, was erecting those barriers, and so those barriers were cutted away, vandalized, and looted by the persons said to be criminal elements who penetrated those peaceful demonstrators. Also, there Kakamega State Lodge, Kakamega Mini State Lodge, and the Kakamega police station, but the demonstrators were repulsed by security apparatus. And so since morning, it's quite been peaceful here. There were no demonstrations except just a while ago, like 20 minutes ago, when these are youth here in their tents. They're not quite as many as they were yesterday and last week. They converged at their approved school here in Kakamega, and now they are proceeding, going through these streets. But as I indicated earlier, is that there have been some 2 vans carrying military personnel who have been combing this particular town, just to ensure that nothing really breaches security, and of course to ensure that there's no vandalism of property. And so let's just maybe wait for them so that we could just, some of them, they're actually carrying that Kenyan flag. They could just talk to us and maybe just listening to what they have to say. It's live on KTN News. Maybe ndugu yangu ni live on KTN News tangu asubuhi. Maybe tangu asubuhi mjakuwa mkiwa hapa. Pengine kufikia sasa hivi mmekuwa mkifanya nini na mnaelekea wapi? Kwa sababu unajua kama jana mlikuwa wengi sana, lakini kwa leo ni wachache. Pengine ni lipi ambalo limeweza kupunguza idadi yenu na hivi sasa mnaelekea wapi?
Idadi yetu ijapunguka. Wanakuja.
Pengine utatueleza jina lako, mnaanzia wapi na pengine mnapanga namna gani?
Sitakwambia jina yangu, lakini mimi nitakwambia tu watu wanakuja. Na sababu tuko hapa leo ni sababu ndugu zetu wamekufa wengi. Ndugu zetu wamekufa wengi tena sana. Rais akasimama mbele ya nchi, mbele ya taifa mzima, kusema ni watu 6 peke yake. Akasimama kusema ni watu 6 peke yake. 6 peke yake.
Nyinyi kama pengine vijana, Rais akasema kwamba anatupilia mbali mswada huo, na amesema atakuwa akiwaita kwenye meza mazungumzo, na pia ile idadi pengine ya watu ambao pengine huenda walipoteza maisha. Nyinyi kama vijana, kwa sasa msukumo wenu ni upi?
Unaona, hatujakataa, alikataa, si ndio? But kitu angefanya hata apology peke yake Rais hakuomba. Ange apologize kwanza, vijana wetu wamekufa, wenzetu wamekufa, ndugu zetu wamekufa bro. Haya tutuende!
Na pengine wa mwisho hapo tueleze mbona msukumo ni upi? Pengine ule mswada umeweza kutupiliwa mbali. Msukumo ni upi kwa vijana hapa?
Msukumo ni ule, we still maintain until asimame afanye kile tunataka.
Nini hicho?
Tunataka kama ni bill imepitishwa tujue pesa yetu inafanya nini.
Asi-withdraw,
reject. Na sisi si wajinga. We are not stupid. Asitupime intelligence yetu. Asitupime tunataka vitu on ground. He must go.
Pengine utueleze, wenzako wanasema kwamba hata kama mswada uliotupiliwa mbali kuna masuala mengine ambayo mnataka yashughulikiwe. Ni kama yetu.
Hakuna masuala tunataka yashughulikiwe. Hii finance bill kama imetupiliwa mbali, tupiliwe mbali. Kama ikikaa 21 days kama haijakuwa debated kwa parliament, it becomes law. So we don't want him to amend, we want him to reject the finance bill. You must go. Na saizi tunasema sisi kama vijana, today we are on a peaceful demonstration. We are mourning our soldiers who were shot by the Ruto should not intimidate us because he's in power. Sisi kama Gen Z, hello. Sisi kama Gen Z.
Pamoja kwa sababu mko live kwenye runinga, msiweze pengine kuzua zogo.
Ona,
haya. Simpe pengine dada yetu pia nafasi.
Namalizia. Sisi kama Gen Z, we have one slogan. We only respect power. We don't fear power.
Kumbuka hii kitu ni after 21 days. Ilikuwa ishapitishwa parliament, lakini hapa hivi kwa ground yeye anatuambia ametupilia mbali. Ikisha 21 days, hiyo kitu itakuwa ni granted. Sasa tunataka tupilie mbali, tunataka reject, sababu mama mboga anaumia, mwananchi wa kawaida anaumia.
Sawa, mwisho pengine tueleze tu mnaelekea wapi kwa sasa, pengine mna mpango upi?
Kwa sasa tunaelekea mochari, tuende tuangalie dada yetu. Kwa sasa tunaelekea mochari, tuende tuangalie wale madada zetu waliokufa na mandugu zetu. Tukishawaona tunarudi kulight candles hapo kwa governor, kwa sababu hapo ndio palipigiwa risasi. Tukishamaliza light candles tunazunguka town, sisi tuende State House. Sisi tunamwona marafiki zetu wenye walikufa. Tafadhali. Na hatuna ubaya. We are peace. Na hiyo kitu ame-withdraw. Hajatoa yote. Hajatoa, atoe kwanza. Atoe kwanza kabisa tujue ya kwamba haiko tena kabisa. Atoe tu.
Asanteni sana.
Alafu Ruto anaongea kwa kiburi.
Hapana, sawa sawa. Tuweze kusonga mbele alafu tutakuwa just listening in is the views of the young ones here. They are actually making their way to the mortuary. We understand that 2 people were shot here during the demonstrations. Yes, of course, the day before yesterday, and they are moving there. They are actually armed with purple candles here. So we shall be making our way there too to just maybe just bring our viewers to speed with the happenings here in Kakamega. But as I indicated earlier, there have been some 2 vans carrying military personnel to just ensure that they maybe protect property from vandalism, because it was witnessed here on Tuesday when a car belonging to the county government of Kakamega was touched by the demonstrators here. There was vandalism here of rails erected by Kenha on this dual Kakamega-Kisumu highway. So we are making our way there because, of course, I indicated the magnitude is
That is Alan Ochanda bringing us up to speed on the situation in Kakamega County with regard to the protest and even protesters giving their views on what they want done. But now I am not alone. I'm here with Jesse Rogers. Jesse Rogers, the situation is pretty much the same across the country, but what do we have in Nairobi?
Well, it seems to be a shell of its former self, even as we bring you live pictures from Nairobi, specifically the Central Business District. As you can see, police officers, security agencies have come out in their numbers to ensure that security is maintained, despite the youth being adamant that they would turn up even in bigger numbers for today's demonstrations that were planned in various parts of the country. As you can see, live pictures right there, even as some protesters, some Kenyans interact with the security agencies. This time round, it's a stark difference from the cat and mouse games that we saw on Tuesday between police and protesters. Our reporter, Moses Wahisi, is on the ground for us, and we just want to get an update on what exactly is going on, because we can see Kenyans standing by the sides, no placards, no chants this time round, just seems to be ushering the police officers. Wahisi, what's the latest on the ground, if you can inform us?
I think at this particular time we have been moving around. We were at Odeon, where some youths had to run. It was a cat of mouse kind of chase. But at this particular time, we went down to River Road. Now we are back to walking towards the National Archives, where a number of Kenyans who you can see standing on the sides of the road, they're trying as much as possible to tell the police that for them, what they're doing is protect their property. But there was a group of individuals who tried to take advantage, tried to come and steal from the shops. There are a few shops that were open. So the guys who are here, what they're saying in black and white is hapa hatutaki wezi. So as much as they're trying to protect their property, we have some other individuals who I know this group of police officers are just going to marshal up and to aid their colleagues on the other end, because we've again been told in the side of Ronald Ngala, where we were a few minutes ago, a lot of maybe I should say mayhem happening at this particular time. So we'll be able to see what exactly is happening on that end. So this tanker actually, this is from the GSU unit, and the few individuals who you can also see here trying as much as possible to see if their businesses will continue to happen. Pengine naona so mambo iko vipi leo?
Mambo ni mbaya. Sisi kama wafanyikazi wa hiyo hoteli tumepata shida sana, hakuna customer, lakini tunaomba hii maneno iishe. Customer, at least tupate customer.
Kwa mtazamo wako, nimeona watu wamekuwa kimbia tu hapa na pale, tear gas hapa na pale. Imeaffect aje nyinyi kama wanabiashara?
Sasa ndio nakwambia hakuna customer ndugu yangu. Customer wote wameingia mitini. Ni sisi tunangangana tu na wenyewe. At least wenye wanajificha wakule wasipatikane na tear gas, wanakuja kukula kitu kidogo huko hivyo.
Nyinyi mambo na finance bill, najua tunasema ni kama ni jambo ambalo watu wameliongelea kwa muda sana. Mnakubaliana wale wanaandamana, mkubaliani nao, ama mtazamo wenu unasemaje? Uchumi iko sawa ama mnafikiri tunaweza pata nafuu kidogo?
Tuweze kupata nafuu kidogo. Uchumi iko mbaya. Hatuwezi sema uchumi iko sawa. Uchumi iko mbaya. Uchumi iko mbaya kabisa.
Some drunk individual there are trying to cause trouble, but with that, we cannot tolerate that. So in all aspects, what is happening in the CBD, you will agree. We will be able to try and catch up with the police officers who were trying as much as possible to do what they're doing. But at this particular time, this stage actually takes a lot of individuals to the sides of Jogoro, Donholm, if you're thinking about Feather and also Cabanas. So you can see very few individuals are even boarding the vehicles at this particular time, simply because of the kind of havoc that has been in the central business district. But in perspective, a lot of questions as to where we will be moving next and what needs to be done. But still, in the CBD, it's trouble this particular hour. And this is actually what is happening on this end. So we try again and see what we will be able to discover after some few time. But again, at Tomboya Street, we're back at Tomboya Street. And you can see security forces, a number of individuals also walking here, a number of also people from the media house. And when we say media house, we have the mainstream media house, but also TikTokers and the likes are also part of the team at this particular time. So they are trying as much as possible to disseminate the information and to say what exactly is happening from this end. Back to you in studio.
All right, Moses Wahisi, thanks for that update, even as we continue training our camera lenses across various counties in the country. Even as we focus on Nairobi, as you can see on your screens, Kakamega County is equally a beehive of activities, not too busy in comparison to the scenes we witnessed on Tuesday. But as you can see, a number of Kenyans have turned out to the streets to protest. Peaceful so far in terms of the engagements between the police and the protesters. No developments as of yet, but what we've seen in the CBD in Nairobi is that most businesses have been affected, most of them have been closed, and we just want to know if it is the same situation on the ground in Kakamega County. Let's listen.
Shika nishikia hapa. Angalia i-monitor tu. Ikifunguka enda KTN live. Unafunguka? Click mahali imeandikwa KTN live.
Mumo, niko on air bro. Aende pole pole.
Usimame hapa, nataka kuona kitu.
Ona. Kaini vizuri tunatumia kwenda kupiga. Kupata mbele. Kwenda kupiga.
From Eldoret, Wasingishu County, as we can see, it is calm today. It seems like people are going about their business as usual, as opposed to what we witnessed in the past few days when demonstrations rocked this city, this town, rather, Wasingishu town. It is called the home of champions. But this on your screen as well is the military stationed in industrial area. Remember, the military was deployed following the Gazette notice by CS Eden Duale, and which was also discussed in the National Assembly. This is industrial area prison as the military continue to do their rounds in the CBD Nairobi. Now they're just going to various parts of the city, and as we speak right now, they are at the industrial area prison as they continue to assist the police in making sure that peace and tranquility is actually maintained in the country. This following the Tuesday demonstrations that saw protesters manage to actually invade Parliament as they had warned earlier, a situation that has seen the security apparatus in the country take a step further and also deploy the security, that is the military, in making sure that peace and security is realized in the country. It is not a normal thing to see the situation where militaries are actually deployed. But now let's go straight to the CBD and listening to what the Gen Zs have to say, the protesters have to say.
Taxes, there's no Linda Mama. Land, bread, sanitary products, motor, everything. Your work, imported goods.
They told us they withdrew the tax on the sanitary products. They told us they withdrew the VAT on bread. They told us they withdrew the other manufactured that issue of land. They have withdrawn so many things. So what is the remaining problem?
Why? Sorry.
Corruption is the biggest. If KRA is exempted from the data protection.
Also, the money in their pockets. Why does the office of the First Lady need money? Why do we need to renovate? Why do we need to renovate State House? State House was built renovated the other day. Why? Why do politicians have to go for holidays and the common man auntie cannot? How do they even know how much a carrot costs? So he garlic needs 30 bob. Where do they
internet connection?
They cut the internet. Where does the government tenders go? Where does that money go? Politicians are flaunting on us on TikTok with the words of money. The tenders they're given, where does that money go? We do not want them.
No, cut the internet. That's a human rights violation.
Those are protesters the CBD Nairobi airing their views on why the finance bill has to be rejected. Already it's been rejected and it's been returned to Parliament, and the Parliament is going to do what they're supposed to do. But we wait and see. We're watching on what's happening. The youth are here. They are still demonstrating, talking about the things that they don't feel are right about this country. And that's why they are here. And they're here to show up in the numbers to ensure that their voices are heard. So we will be covering everything they'll be saying here, and everything will be happening here. We've seen police officers, the military on the other side, been deployed officially in the CBD as we wait the ruling from High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi on whether they should go back to the barracks or not. But right now, police are going around throwing tear gas to demonstrators, to protesters. And we are following this keenly to give updates on what exactly is happening and how far are they determined to go.
Enda mbele huku bwana, tunajua hakuna pia tunachukua. Wewe rono bwana. Enda mbele ile. Sasa live, sasa wewe uko nyuma.
And from Nairobi County, we go to Eldoret. As you can see, there are those who are actually armored with batons, and equally crowds that have gathered in Eldoret. These, as we continue to see what happened, remember that Eldoret equally witnessed protesters, and this seems to be a gathering. I don't know what it is they are doing, but again, today the military is out, police officers are out. In Eldoret, seems to be peaceful today, nothing much happening. People just are in a procession walking in Eldoret town. This, as we we continue to follow up in what is happening. These protesters who are just marching and we're not sure what it is they are doing in Eldoret, but it is a situation that we continue to follow up. Remember that the past few days we have seen Eldoret experience protesters who went on to loot business premises. We know some properties of politicians were attacked, but today we see it is relatively peaceful. Businesses and not sure if they are working as expected of them, but this is a crowd in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, as people are walking armed with batons, as opposed to the other time when we could see placards. There are no placards this time round. No one is chanting. They're just walking in the CBD, Jesse.
Well, definitely, we continue with our unrivaled news coverage of today's developments. Remember, the youth had hinted that they would turn out to the streets today, all to do with the finance bill protests, but it seems to be a stark contrast to the scenes we saw on Tuesday. This time round in Eldoret, as Aseto has mentioned, the numbers are on the streets indeed, but it doesn't seem to be well coordinated in terms of the chants we saw on Tuesday around the finance bill, in terms of the cat and mouse games between the police and the protesters. But it's equally proper to note that the police presence across the country is notable, definitely buffered by the security forces, the KDF, who are equally on the streets, not just in Nairobi County, but other areas as well. But just live pictures right there from Eldoret town. The numbers are on the streets. Seems to be a little bit of confusion and standstill as they seem to be maneuvering their way around the town. But that's the latest in terms of the state of affairs on the ground. Eldoret seems to be picking up right now. Remember, earlier on it was mostly calm across the country, including in Nairobi. We saw protests in Migori and Kisumu, a little bit heightened. We understand that those individuals walking in Eldoret are anti-protesters. So interesting. Remember, we are a democratic country, and it's not just the right of those who are against the finance bill to protest. So in Eldoret, we might see those who are exercising Article 37 of the Constitution, perhaps in support of the government of the day. Quite peaceful, even as they walk around the streets of Eldoret. But we continue with our unrivaled coverage. Our camera lenses are trained in various cities across the country. Nairobi of key interest, bearing in mind what exactly played out on Tuesday in terms of the protesters overwhelming the police who were on the streets. Thereafter, the Cabinet Secretary of Defense declared a security emergency in the country and gazetted the deployment of KDF. Of course, we've seen the push and pull in terms of the process, in terms of which the KDF was deployed, bearing in mind the Constitution mentions that Parliament should first approve, then KDF to be deployed. But this time round, it was done the other way. But we've definitely seen KDF presence across the Nairobi capital, CBD. The top right or top left right there, we can see them around industrial area, just trying to maintain law and order, showing a sign of might and presence around the country, bearing in mind the state of anarchy, quote unquote, that we might have seen on Tuesday as protesters overwhelmed security forces and made their way to Parliament. This time round, a little bit earlier on, Aseto, we heard from our reporters, Jeff Kirui and the likes, that Parliament is definitely in a heightened state of security. Police officers around there, even as the military officers make their way across various parts of the country, especially the capital, Nairobi. And what's of note, Aseto, is that we've seen restraint. And I mean, let's give them a pat on their back. We haven't seen any excesses, especially from the police, in those few instances where we've seen them face off with protesters, especially in the capital. But what we had from our reporters on the ground, especially in Migori, we understand that 4 people were shot in terms of the altercation between the police officers and the protesters. 4 people sustained gunshot wounds and 2 police injured during the Migori demonstrations. Among those who were shot, 2 are in critical condition, and the injured are, of course, receiving treatment at Migori County Referral Hospital. So that's in Migori, a stark difference in terms of the state of affairs, in terms of what we're seeing right here in Eldoret, in other parts of the country as well. But equally, to remind our audience back at home that the president just yesterday, because we had one of the Gen Z protesters in the CBD Nairobi talk about a couple of issues that seem to have irked her and forced her to go to the streets, talking about, you know, some of the tax proposals and the wanton government spending in terms of lack of austerity measures. And it's proper to note that just yesterday, President William Ruto did mention that there would be budget reductions, specifically earmarking a 200 billion reduction in the development budget. He proposed austerity measures affecting the presidency, various state departments, including cuts to confidential expenditures, which was a sore issue. Hospitality as well has seen budget cuts, vehicle purchases and renovations. So these are some of the issues that were canvassed just yesterday by President William Ruto, and perhaps might have slowed down the momentum of the protesters on the streets. This is a difference from what we saw, Aseto, on Tuesday, indeed, right?
Yes, and yes, indeed, just today we see a difference, because even on Tuesday in Eldoret, we saw those who were anti-finance bill, but today we see those who are anti-protesters, and as rightfully put, everyone has the right, according to the Article 37 of the Constitution. And new information is that we expect at 3 p.m. that is High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi to deliver a ruling on whether KDF should retreat to barracks or not. And Attorney General, Defense Ministry opposed the case filed by LSK. And on the left side of your screen, that is the military who have been deployed in the country that is outside the industrial area prison, as they continue to assist the police with regard to maintaining security and order in the country. This follows the fact that the protesters overwhelmed the police in Nairobi, overran the police at Parliament Building. We saw the destruction that happened there, also the destruction at the county governor's offices in Nairobi, that is City Hall. Hence the reason why the Gazette notice was actually issued by Defense CS Eden Duale. But this is Eldoret, and what you're seeing on your screen, these seem to be armed individuals, but anti-protesters, as they equally exercise their right according to the Constitution, Article 37, to peaceably demonstrate and picket as they continue to go about their business. But this is the military that has been deployed. Remember that we expect the judge to give a ruling at 3 p.m. on whether the military will be going back to the barracks or not. But then again, this is Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, anti-protesters marching, not chanting, no banners this time round, just going about their business, walking around the CBD, making sure that there are no protesters in the town. That is Uasin Gishu County. And where they are actually sitting as we speak right now is outside the Uasin Gishu County offices, the headquarters. And this is a place of interest because in there actually the protesters got in and torched 2 vehicles, including the county court premises that deals with matters to do with the county. Those are anti-protesters in Uasin Gishu County. But on your screen right now, this is the APC armored personnel carrier that is ferrying the military, who have been doing rounds in the CBD in Nairobi, which is of utmost importance. We saw what happened in the city. Protesters got to the parliament buildings, the destruction that happened there. Talk about about the police vehicles that were torched in the CBD, the destruction on people's businesses, those that lost their businesses. Sunbeam business premises was actually razed down completely. People lost their businesses. If you go to the interwebs, people saying how they've lost everything, their savings, their businesses razed down by the protesters. You talk about the county offices, talk about pretty much the economy that has stalled because of the protests that have happened in the city, but the military have been deployed following that Gazette notice that was released by the Cabinet Secretary Edin Duale before the National Assembly discussed the same, approved the deployment of the KDF, who are assisting the police officers in maintaining law and order. And as rightfully said, the concerns that the protesters have been bringing forth have been matters to do with increased taxation that they feel is unfair to them. And this has been a clarion call not only this week, but last week as well, when we saw the demonstrations that spilled over to this week. And today they said they would be going out there to take over State House that has seen and has been met by heightened security in the country. You see the military has been deployed in the CBD. The police are making sure that the would-be protesters who are protesting in the downtown area of the CBD do not advance to the upper area, and police are dealing with them around Luthuli Avenue, Ronald Ngala, around RNG Plaza, that is that entire area, in making sure that protesters do not get to destroy property, do not get to advance further. But equally, we have seen that business people, those who own businesses, entrepreneurs in the CBD, have taken charge. They are armed with batons and have told the police officers that they will do everything necessary to protect their premises. That on your screen, those KDF officers taking charge and making sure that the country is safe.
Okay, interesting. And we continue with our coverage, even as we want to link up with our senior political affairs reporter, Jeff Kirui, who is right there next to the heavily armored vehicle right there. So Kirui, if you can hear me, let's just understand if there are any crowds that are moving their way using that route towards the CBD, and equally, why exactly is the military cordoning off this particular area? Kirui, if you can hear me.
Well, Jesse, what exactly is happening here is that we are at Enterprise Road, and the police actually, this is actually the Kenya Defense Forces team. They have been patrolling the streets of Nairobi. We followed them all the way from Koinange Street, University Way, Uruai Way, Bunyala, Lusaka Road. Right now we are at Enterprise Road, but now there is a problem here because two of their vehicles, the armored personnel carriers, have developed mechanical problems. So that is why you're seeing we have been here for the last about 10 to 15 minutes, and that is the current problem that they're having here. So just on people who are curious to know what the problem is, but now we are on the move. They have left behind a number of officers who are actually ensuring that their vehicles are safe, but now we are back on transit. We are heading now back. I don't know whether we will be going to the CBD or we will be heading to the city stadium route, but we wait to see exactly what will happen. But so far, two of the armored personnel carriers are actually grounded along Enterprise Road. I don't know whether it's a fuel issue, but their car wouldn't start. So they are trying to figure out what the problem is, and this has caused this commotion you're seeing along Enterprise Road, because most of the people are wondering what is happening here, but it's just a mechanical breakdown, and some have actually, they're on the move. It's also, remember that this area as well is the area that has the industrial area prisons. So there is a lot of commotion because also the prison officers are manning this area. Since morning, they have been surrounding this place to ensure that the safety of prisoners. Now that the demonstrations we witnessed, some of the demonstrators are coming all the way from the side of Jogo Road and Landis. So they are ensuring that the safety of their prisoners is actually well catered for or taken care of. But now we are outside the industrial area prisons, and they have also stopped here waiting for a reinforcement, perhaps to come and tow the 2 APCs that have broken down. Jesse.
That update, even as the military personnel try and get their affairs in order, it seems one of their cars has developed mechanical problems, and that's why they have lingered around the Nairobi Remand and Allocation Maximum Security Prison, better known as Industrial Area Prison. But that's the latest, even as they continue making rounds in various areas within Nairobi County just to ensure security is tight. As you can see on the right side of the screen, that is within CBD, and it seems there is tear gas canisters that have been lobbed right there. I can't see the number of people who perhaps are being suppressed, but we'll definitely keep you updated in terms of the security situation in the CBD. But remember, this is definitely a stark difference in terms of what we saw on Tuesday. More police officers in the streets as they patrol, making sure that security is of utmost priority. And perhaps this big climb down by President William Ruto yesterday as he bowed to the relentless pressure by Kenyans to refuse to assent to the finance bill has equally led to a climb down by protesters who had been identified majority from the Gen Z age group. And it seems they have equally stepped down. If I can just quote President William Ruto verbatim, he said he proposes an engagement with young people of our nation to listen to their issues and agree with them on the priority areas of concern. He equally proposed that within the next 14 days, a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder engagement should be held with a view of charting the way forward on matters relating to the context of the Finance Bill 2024, of which he refused to assent to. But that's the latest on the streets right now. Not much activity going on in terms of protest, but even as we await for this particular armored personnel vehicle to at least be fixed, Aseto, right?
And yes, indeed, we wait to see what next for the military officers whose vehicles are, as we speak, still grounded near the Industrial Area Remand Prison. And as you can see, both security from within the prison area and equally the military officers there as they wait to see that that situation is actually fixed and they are able to continue with the rounds that they have been doing across pretty much within the city the whole day today. And it is important to note that the security was actually military officers were deployed after police officers were overwhelmed Tuesday. That saw protesters managed to gain access to the National Assembly. We saw the destruction that happened in the CBD and in other parts of the country as well. The reason why today, as we speak, the military, we can see them on the streets trying to make sure that security is actually heightened. And it is important to note that with regard to the Finance Bill 2024, the contentious bill was actually withdrawn by the President and referred back to the National Assembly to be able to go back to the entire process. This as the President made concessions, and as I quote him, he said that he has finally conceded and that there is need to have conversation with the Gen Zs. Remember, the Gen Zs and the millennials pretty much have been pushing this agenda of the Finance Bill 2024 to be rejected in its entirety. What happened after President William Ruto gave that statement saying that he would be withdrawing that bill. But even as we have that discussion in Nairobi, we've seen protesters in the CBD. Those are live pictures coming from the CBD as police officers continue to make sure that security is actually maintained within the CBD. We know there are areas where there is police lobbing tear gas to protesters. These as they continue to maintain and insist that there would be no protesters in the CBD. Witnessed in the past few days, the numbers in there, the numbers of protesters in the CBD. And in Eldoret, equally, that was witnessed. And as we continue to witness the same, this is actually Nairobi. This is near Archives, as police officers seem to be apprehending one of the protesters, taking them to perhaps their waiting vehicle. This is behind Archives, actually, where matatus pick and drop their passengers. This is Tomboya as you go down towards Haile Selassie Avenue. And you can see further down, that is Ronald Ngala Street. People seem to be running. That is tear gas that has been lobbed. Police officers running towards mayhem further down in making sure that protesters do not advance. It has been actually a game of cat and mouse, who will beat who is the smarter one. But as you can see, those are officers running towards Ronald Ngala. But now we go to Eldoret County, and you can see that these are the Eldoret Uasin Gishu County, that is the anti-protesters sitting there. Perhaps I think this could be a cultural thing, because it happened to have my brother there who said today the community would come there and do their thing, and this seems to be what is happening there. This is actually the county headquarters. Parking area on your left would be the headquarters, the office of the governor, but these are the anti-government protesters as they sit there, do their thing. Let's just, if we could just listen into what is happening there, let's listen in. Yes, those are the anti-protesters in Uasin Gishu County, as we continue to bring you unrivaled coverage on the happenings today. And these are men who are walking with their batons. They say they are anti-protesters in Uasin Gishu County. This follows the protests that were witnessed in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. We saw the property that was destroyed even within these premises. That is the county headquarters, the county court that was actually razed down, including some vehicles that belong to the county. But these are the anti-protesters, anti-financeable protesters who are seated there as they go about, should be the cultural, as Swahili people would say, matambiko, in making sure that everything goes as planned, equally making sure that no protesters actually are within the CBD in Uasin Gishu County. Jesse.
Well, they definitely seem to be sending a message right there in terms of holding vigil around Eldoret town and ensuring that security perhaps on their end is okay. As we can see, this is still around industrial area in Nairobi. Earlier on, our reporter Jeff Kirui told us that one of the armored personnel carrier vehicles had actually faced mechanical problems, and it still seems to be, it's actually 3 of them that seems not to be moving right there. As you can see, some of the police officers from the remand prison have actually come out, just standing outside there, which has caused a little bit of a commotion. But Aseto, one thing is for sure, that security this time round is definitely of utmost priority. We've seen them come out in their numbers, a stark difference from what we saw on Tuesday. No instances of police being overwhelmed in one way or the other. However, it seems to be hitting up in the CBD. As you can see, this is Nairobi. Various police officers just making their way, trying to quell some masses perhaps who had gathered in support of the finance bill protest. So heavy police presence, heavy deployment of security personnel across the country, especially in Nairobi County, even as our reporter, as you can see, Moses Wahisi right there, just following the police men as they make their way down that particular street. So this is Moi Avenue, if I'm not wrong, I think, as they head down to secure that particular street. But remember, on Tuesday and Wednesday, our team endeavored to put faces to the names of those who had actually been injured, not just injured, but the lives that had been taken away during the protests that were held on Tuesday. One positive note today is that we haven't reported any deaths so far across the country, despite some instances of altercation between police officers and members of the public in Migori, where 4 are sustaining gunshot wounds. But in Nairobi, it seems everything is speak and span, even as the police endeavor to break down the protesters who might have gathered in various parts of the central business district. Even as what we've seen characterize the central business district today is that most businesses are closed. That seems to be one of the downsides of the protest that we saw in Nairobi. And on Tuesday, remember, vandalism was noted across the CBD. This time round, it seems the businesses and the businessmen actually were cautious in terms of opening. They were skeptical in terms of the state of peace in the country. But remember, on Tuesday evening, President William Ruto gave an assurance that security is of utmost priority in terms of your own personal security, in terms of businesses as well. And this time round, police have been heavily deployed across various parts of the country, specifically Nairobi, and their numbers have been buffered up by the KDF officers who are still going around the CBD, various parts of Nairobi, to ensure that security is tight. Right, Aseto?
Yes, indeed, Jesse. As we continue to bring you this live coverage, it is important to remember that President William Ruto said that security is of utmost priority and that they will do everything necessary to make sure that the country is actually safe and secure. And as you can see, that is 2 police lorries, and it seems like they are doing what we do, transfer from one lorry to the other as they get transported perhaps to where they will be detained today as they get processed before they are taken to court. And this seems to be the best way in making sure that no one escapes. We saw that during the protest that people would actually climb on top of these vehicles but managed to beat the police and run away. But today it is reverse gear, making sure that everybody that has been arrested gets inside and will be processed and perhaps be taken to court. But this is just to bring you up to speed on the situation across the country, the security that has been tightened. These following the demonstrations that we've witnessed for the past pretty much like 2 weeks, as police officers continue to make sure that the country is safe, that no demonstrators are in the city. The economy of the city has literally come to a standstill. Entrepreneurs, businesses have closed down due to fear of looting that we've seen following the previous protest, which is an unfortunate incident. Even Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua speaking to the same yesterday while in Mombasa, calling upon protesters to stop and come to the table and discuss on the way forward with regard to the finance bill. And as you can see, that is, this looks like Moi Avenue, as police continue to take their positions in making sure that everything goes on well. And this looks like Tom Mboya further up towards Jivanji as you go towards University Highway on the other side, and police lobbing tear gas. Perhaps that area could be that stretch. Maybe protesters are there and the police are serious and are maintaining that no protests will be in the CBD. Today we've seen heightened security officers, walls of police officers doing rounds, making sure that everything goes according to plan. And today they are making sure that protesters are not going beyond Tom Mboya or Moi Avenue. They are pushing protesters further downtown towards Valley Road, and also just making sure that no one is protesting. And of importance to remember equally is that entrepreneurs have taken charge, making sure and are saying that they will protect their businesses. That is the situation down there, as we were speaking earlier with Moses Wahisi while he was speaking with the businesses there, including the entrepreneurs, who are actually saying because of the ongoing protests, they've been forced to close business. And this has equally affected them because they do not have their customers who would make their business run, therefore calling upon the president calling upon Kenyans pretty much to allow things to go back to normalcy so that they can continue with their normal ways of life and normal businesses as would be. And as you can see, police officers are now going further down Tomboy Street as they sweep these roads, sweep these streets, and making sure that security is actually realized. And of importance is that as we speak about the CBD at the moment right now, we have the military who have been actually doing rounds in the city, making sure that the place is actually safe. And as we speak right now, we can see that the entourage from the industrial area prisons is actually moving. Looks like the armored personnel carriers are moving right now, but we shall be touching base with the footage coming from that side of town. But again, yes, as we speak now, these are the military who are moving armored personnel carriers that the military are using in just doing rounds in the city. But the question is, why do we have the military actually deployed in the country? This is because the police were overwhelmed, and the Defense Cabinet Secretary gazetted the deployment of the military to assist the police in maintaining security. That after that gazette notice, the National Assembly was called yesterday. They sat and they passed two key things, which was they went on recess, that is, the National Assembly went on recess, but equally approved the deployment of the military to assist with maintaining security in the country. The president, in his speech, saying that security is important, that he will make sure that the country is safe, even as Kenyans continue to exercise their right under Article 37 of demonstrating, picketing, but that security has to be maintained. The military has been deployed. And just as we talk about the deployment of security, a lot of Kenyans are actually anxious and seem to be at awe at the military police, because it is not a common thing.
Yeah, it definitely isn't a sight we're used to seeing, especially military officers patrolling various parts of the country. And if you can remember, the last times we've received deployment is during the cattle rustling menace, and equally I think there was deployment in Tana River County as well. So this is definitely a sight for sore eyes in terms of security update in the country. Remember, just yesterday, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua through the NIS head under the bus in terms of not giving the president adequate information, intelligence in terms of the magnitude of the protest that was seen on Tuesday. This time round, it seems the magnitude of the police officers and the military is higher than that of the protesters, especially within the central business district, even though businesses have been affected in one way or the other. Let's just cross over to a senior political affairs reporter, Jeff Kirui, for more details. Kirui, it would be interesting to know where exactly you are and if there are any developments so far in terms of the state of security around the finance bill protest. Kirui.
Well, very good afternoon. Right now, we are along Lusaka Road. We are heading to the Nyai roundabout, and I think the military have just sorted, put their acts in order. The two APCs that were that had experienced mechanical problems have been sorted, and now we are back on transit. It's also good to point out that the military officers are actually not engaging anyone. They are just patrolling the streets of Nairobi in what perhaps many could say is a show of might, and perhaps also it has helped today in terms of minimizing or rather keeping off most of the demonstrators who were actually intending today the rallying call being Occupy status. We haven't seen much happening in town other than a few instances of police engaging the demonstrators along Waiyaki, Kenyatta Avenue, and Tomboya Street. But on this other side of town, we have been on trail of the military personnel who are patrolling the Nairobi CBD. And so far, there have been two Koinange Street, University Way, Uruai Way. Right now, we are heading to Langata Road. We don't know whether exactly they're going back to the barracks. Remember, there is a ruling that is set to be delivered by court today on the legality of them being on the roads, on the streets of Nairobi after they were gazetted by the CS Defense to help police in terms of controlling and bringing law and order after the Occupy Parliament protest on Thursday. So right now we are along Langata Road. We will find out in the next few minutes whether they're going back to the barracks or they are going along Bagazi Way down to Kenyatta Avenue back to the CBD. Jesse.
Update, we are definitely monitoring through the camera lenses even as they sneak their way past Nyayo Stadium right there heading towards Langata Road. A little bit earlier on, Jeff Bugire had joined another convoy which headed towards the barracks in Langata. So we will definitely keep you updated in case the military is heading back to the barracks or still making patrols around the Central Business District and Nairobi in general to ensure law and order is maintained. And that is definitely what we've seen for better part of the day. Police officers patrolling various parts of the country as they ensure law and order is maintained, even though pockets of protesters were seen in various parts of the country, though Nairobi so far so good. But let's hear from the men on the ground. Jeff Mogire seems to be joining us. Mogire, good afternoon. What's the latest from where you are? Where exactly are you reporting from? Any developments so far?
Well, Jesse, it's been cat and mouse games between police officers here and riot. Police officers here who are trying to push protesters to the far end, not to demonstrate and not to destroy properties within the Nairobi CBD. And it's been cat and mouse since morning. And right here, there's police officers who are trying to push protesters away from the CBD to ensure that there's no loss of property and things are flowing as possible. We have been trying to talk to protesters and they continue to raise their concerns and air their grievances against the president. And they're saying the president must go. But there's a law or there's a way that that should happen, and it doesn't have to happen the way probably they want it, but it's all consensus has to be reached here. So we are here waiting to see what happens, because the protesters who are just down the road, we are on Moi Avenue, by the way. Protesters who are down the road have been pushed to the other far end, and now police have come back here to see if they can make sure that everything is clear and people can go on with the business. But Nairobi continues to remain closed. So many shops here have remained closed since morning, and up to now we are wondering, will they open these shops or they will continue to be closed here until tomorrow? But the police have continued to talk to protesters and tell them to keep moving, to leave the CBD, and probably that is how probably there will be some silence. But they continue to throw tear gas canisters to the protesters, and it's chaotic, but a bit calm, unlike on Tuesday.
Let you go, it would be proper to note if the numbers of protesters are increasing in any way, because you've been there since morning, canvassing various parts of the Central Business District. In terms of those who are being lobbed for the tear gas, is there any increase in numbers of the protesters even as we near 6:30 deadline?
Not really. Since morning, we've seen a few protesters coming out, but right now, this number has not continued to increase unlike since morning. And we're seeing protesters. The numbers today are not as many as they were on Tuesday. Fewer and fewer numbers across the CBD and outside some parts of Nairobi. We've been to Mlolongo and other parts, but the numbers are not really high like they were on Tuesday. Probably some are satisfied with what happened from yesterday and Tuesday, and some are continued to push for their grievances to be heard. So the numbers are not so many as from Tuesday, but now today, a little bit low numbers of people who came out to protest.
Well, it seems the big climb down by President William Ruto had a net effect in terms of the numbers of protesters who turned out on the streets against the Finance Bill 2024. But thanks for that, Mogire. We just want to inform our viewers that we're currently camera lenses are currently trained at Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi. Remember earlier on, this is the area where we saw massive numbers of KDF personnel where they were getting their affairs in order. It seems they've headed back. That convoy that was on Langate Road seems to have headed back to Nyayo Stadium. But in terms of where the action is, CBD, just a couple of tear gas lobbed towards the protesters who seem to be gathering around various areas in the capital. But according to Mogire, the numbers have dwindled in the course of the day, a stark comparison to what we saw on Tuesday in terms of the protesters overwhelming the police. This time round, heavy police deployment across the country, even in the central business district. And equally, good thing we haven't seen vandalism cases being reported even within the CBD. Remember, this was an issue back on Tuesday.
And yes, indeed, as we continue to witness what is happening in the country right now, deployment of security officers against the protesters, we are following up on what is happening, and it is important to note that at around 3 p.m. we expect High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi to deliver a ruling at 3 p.m. on whether KDF should retreat to barracks or not. Now, the AG Defense Ministry opposed the case that has been filed by the LSK. This follows the deployment of the military in the country to assist the police in securing the country after the police were overwhelmed Tuesday. This, together with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, accusing the NIS boss of not giving proper intel. But those are live images from the Nairobi CBD as police continue to lob tear gas against protesters, making sure that they are pushed back. We have seen the game of cat and mouse between the police and the protesters as the protesters continue to chant, continue to demonstrate, continue to picket, while the police have held their ground that there will be no protesting today in the country. And has been a situation even as the military continue to do rounds in the city today. We've seen that they've gone back to the Nyayo National Stadium where they are parked. But this right here on your screen, this is Moi Avenue as police continue to engage the protesters. You can see a gathering further up ahead with the same. But this is not only happening in Nairobi, but we've seen Kakamega, Migori, we've seen Eldoret anti-protesters actually making sure that things go as planned, and in Nairobi as well, shop owners taking charge and making sure that their security, that their premises are actually safe and secure. And when we talk about matters to do with the KDF, now their vision is a premier, credible and mission-capable force deeply rooted in professionalism, and that their mandate is to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. But the second mandate is to assist and cooperate with other authorities in situations of emergency or disaster and restore peace in any part of Kenya affected by unrest or instability as assigned. Today, they have been deployed to the Republic in making sure that they assist in restoring peace in parts of the country that were affected during the insecurity. We know that people lost their property. Kenyans today are counting losses after the premises were torched. You talk about the Sunbeam building that was razed down. Talk about the office of the governor. Talk about the National Assembly in Eldoret. The same. We know politicians who have suffered close to where I stay. Equally, the CDF offices went up in flames. All these are properties that the taxpayers have spent in putting them up, but today they are we have been reduced back to zero. The reason why the police are out here lobbing tear gas, pushing demonstrators back, that is Nairobi CBD, as police are adamant that no protesting will happen today. As much as it is enshrined in the Constitution, it is a right to demonstrate, but based on what we have seen thus far, the police say no demonstrations will take place, nobody will be proceeding to occupy State House. They managed somehow to occupy Parliament, the distraction that happened, but today no one is being allowed to go beyond this spot, which would be the intersection of Moi Avenue and Kenyatta Avenue. Kenyatta Avenue is the road that leads you towards Kinachoendelea, all the way up Valley Road as you go towards State House. On your right, and GPO leads you to Holy Family Basilica towards Parliament, where we saw the destruction that happened. And that is some of the equipment that police are using. That is the water cannons that the police have depended on as they continue to address the protesters for the better part of last week. And this week, the water cannons have come in handy to assist the police in dealing with the protest and the protesters here. And today, the water cannons continue to do what they do best: create that fear and equally just disperse the protesters who are their police are there to make sure that security is heightened. And our reporters are actually based across the country, not only in Nairobi. We have our cameras in Eldoret, in Kakamega, we have Migori, we have Kakamega, we have Mombasa, as we continue to bring you the situation, unrivaled coverage on where we are with regard to the protest that the country has witnessed in the past few weeks.
Okay, and it's also appropriate to note that we've seen a high level of restraint from the military officers who are patrolling various parts of the country, including Nairobi's Central Business District. Definitely deserve a pat on the back. But just reflecting on President William Ruto's statement yesterday, he sort of remained silent on the KDF deployment in Nairobi streets, just emphasizing planned engagements with stakeholders, including the clergy and civil society and the youth, in order to address the concerns that have been raised around the finance bill protest. So that's definitely one thing to note, even as we highlight the state of affairs in Nairobi. Police officers just walking as they in a bid to maintain law and order. We've definitely seen the water cannons, as Aseto has enunciated, which are definitely used to suppress protesters in case they make their way towards key government installations. But right now it seems to be peace and quiet, no running battles between the police and protesters. We've seen a few instances where tear gas canisters have been lobbed towards crowds in order to ensure they disperse. Also, key to note is that very few cases or no cases of vandalism have been reported, especially in the CBD, even though businessmen and women alike were sort of cautious today. They didn't open. Most businesses in town haven't been opened, and that's definitely Nairobi CBD heavy police presence, even as they try and secure the capital, Nairobi. This is the state of affairs in Nairobi. A little bit earlier on, we saw the military personnel make their way back to Nyayo Stadium, where they had started their affairs a little bit earlier on in the day before they were deployed to make rounds across various parts of the country. Now, this time round, right there, we can see a couple of people running away from that particular area. Perhaps tear gas has been lobbed even as they try and suppress crowds gathering around the Central Business District. A sharp contrast from what we saw on Tuesday in terms of running battles with the police. State of calm around the country mostly, even though Migori, we did report that 4 people have got gunshot wounds and are receiving treatment at Migori Hospital. hospital. But in the CBD, no running battles between protesters and police. It seems the climb down by President William Ruto may have caused the climb down from the protesters in terms of the numbers who made their way to the central business district in order to protest. We've seen pockets of protesters across various towns in the country, Kitunote, Migori, Kisumu, Mombasa as well, but it's mostly been suppressed by the security officers on the streets this time round, perhaps borrowing from what President William Ruto had to say on Tuesday in terms of security being of utmost priority. Aseto, this might beg the question, what next in terms of the anti-finance bill protesters? Because as you mentioned earlier, this bill back in Parliament, and we've definitely seen the president conceding to what the people had to say. Remember, he himself said the voice of the people is the voice of God. So this time round, it would be interesting to know what next, because there's some politicians who are questioning in terms of that proposed engagement with young people, who exactly will be there to represent the Gen Z. Remember, faceless, tribeless, and leaderless. So who exactly will be on the seating table to, dialogue with the president in terms of their reservations related to the contents of this bill, Aseto?
And that has actually been one of the strategies that the Gen Zs have used, fearless, headless, and leaderless. Everything is just less. And it would be important as we move forward to look at how best the government would be able to pick up on the issues that they have raised, because they have actually raised a lot of them. But then the challenge is on the government when it comes to public participation. What exactly is public participation? What threshold do we say is public participation? Because the Gen Zs as well have said that they feel like their issues were actually not picked up. That even when they said no to some issues within the finance bill, the members of parliament still went ahead and included them. Therefore, as you rightfully ask, what next? Now, the issue would be now, let the Gen Zs come out and equally participate in the public participation as expected of them, because all these would be of no need if they would not get out there and give their views to the powers that be, to make sure that their views are actually captured in that finance bill that will be prepared a little bit later. And equally, President William Ruto has said that there is need to talk to them, but as you've rightfully said, talk to who exactly? How do we bring them to the table? Because then again, as we saw the mammoth crowds in Nairobi, in Uasin-Gishu, in Mombasa, and other parts of the country, how do we then collect all those views and have a discussion on what the Gen Zs, the youth, and pretty much just Kenyans want to be included in the finance bill? It is an interesting place to be, I reckon.
You know what they say, if you're not on the table, you're probably in the menu. So it would be proper to note who exactly will be representing the Gen Z right as they have those engagements with the executive led by President William Ruto. And for the president equally, it would be proper to note if he walks the talk, because he definitely gave assurances of fighting corruption in the country, vowed to fight graft, and he equally directed immediate austerity measures touching on the executive and various bodies under the government. It would be proper to note if he walks the talk, because we've heard from the president, mambo ni matatu, but when it comes to clamping down on corruption, that seems to have irked the protesters who turned out in their numbers earlier on in the week on Tuesday. But as you can see, a couple of bonfires have been lit right there, still in Nairobi, as we try and, that's Thika rather, definitely it's a cause of concern, even as we can't see the crowds, but they might have been behind the bonfires that have been lit right there in Thika. Away from that, on the other side of the screen, you can just see police officers just doing their job, quote unquote. Perhaps it might inconvenience members of the public, but it's all to maintain law and order. Passing with a bag, you're told, hey, open it up. Perhaps you're carrying stones or a tear gas canister.
They actually called African grenade, so police just making sure that no one is actually working with the ammunition out there. But it's a sharp contrast to what we've seen in downtown, where the owners of the shops are actually armed. Even in Eldoret, they're armed and working with the batons. So begs the question, who exactly is to be ransacked and who isn't to be ransacked? But that will leave to the police officers as they continue to maintain law and order. And as you can see, tear gas still being lobbed to protesters in Nairobi. These as police officers maintain that there will be no protesting in the CBD. Perhaps this is because we've seen the destruction that has happened in the country. Destruction, businessmen and women who've lost their businesses due to the protesters. I know there is a shop in town where I buy my shirts, and the owner was saying the other day, if you see a street chap dressed nicely, no, that is courtesy of my shop that was looted. But those are live images from different parts of the country. You can see on the top left, that is Thika Town, and on the top right, that should be that should be Nairobi as well. And if you see down, that is the bottom left, that is along close to Moi Avenue or Tomboya, and on the bottom right, that is as well Nairobi CBD, as we continue to bring you unrivaled coverage on the situation in the country as we speak today. Just now, as we continue to talk to bring these coverage across the country pretty much. Now, the next question is, with the bill now being referred back to the National Assembly, we expect the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, to recall back the MPs because they are on recess. So that is the next development that we should be looking forward to. But what exactly does this mean?
Well, it's the start of a long, tedious process. As you mentioned, the bill going back to Parliament, the Speaker will definitely need to call for a special session in order to deliberate the President's reservations, of which he voiced articulately just yesterday. And remember, he was just echoing what the protesters wanted to say in terms of the budget cuts, in terms of the cuts to confidential expenditures, hospitality and renovations that we saw in terms of the President conceding. So it'll definitely be a tough walk in the park in terms of members of Parliament actually putting the President's words into action, bearing in mind they were quite adamant a little bit earlier on in terms of passing the finance bill. But it's also proper to note that within 14 days, as per the Constitution, those provisions might actually pass, assuming it has been assented to. Let's cross over to our reporter in the CBD, Moses Wahisi, just to get a feel of what exactly is going on, because we can see some tear gas canisters have been lobbed in various parts of the CBD. Wahisi, where exactly are you, and is there any action so far?
Plenty of action, Jesse Roger, I will agree. But at this particular time, I think the protesters and also the servicemen, it's like they have decided to take a breather on this end, maybe regrouping, and then we will be able to see the commotion that has been for the better part of the day. But at this particular time, I know we have been witnessing the running battles for a number of hours now. And I know a lot of individuals have been able to move towards National Archives. And that's the place where we are moving to at this particular time, because action seems to have again propelled towards that side. But in a general assessment, not business as usual. I know we have been able to say and also have a discussion about that. But plenty of the individuals that we've been able to have a conversation with them today, some of them are not doing this necessarily because of the financial bill. It seems like others have said that to them it's an anti-government kind of protest. Still others are saying that there are some things that ought to be done, and I know you have alluded to it. What happens after the President has said that he is not going to sign that bill, the memorandum that the President written, and what now the Speaker has to do. All those others are saying that it was just a gimmick and a PR kind of an exercise. but also others have decided to come in the city, not necessarily because they have a statement that they want to pass across, but because others want to loot. And I'm not talking about the bigger majority. There is a bigger majority that are saying they're doing this for a positive cause. There are others. So a few elements that are also coming here with a different agenda altogether. So a mix that is giving the servicemen a kind of hard time, because today for the servicemen, it's been no demonstration is allowed 100%. So with that in mind, then those who are demonstrating for different reasons are not allowed to do it peaceful or not. They are not allowed to do it in black and white. So I know a number of policemen who have been able to move towards Odeon, and that is where we're walking towards, are trying as much as possible to contain the situation. But there are others who are saying that it's past working hours for others. So we have a number of individuals who are trying as much as possible to see that they will be able to get means of travel or means of transport as they try as much as possible to head home. So there are some matatus at this particular region, not that many even travelers or people who are moving from the different places of work that are in town. But for those few that are here, a number of them have just been sitting in the matatus for a number of hours now, because the matatu were not feeling as quick as they always used to. But at the same time, the drivers are not as comfortable to navigate their ways within town as they try to go to the different regions of the city. But having said that, the question that a lot of individuals are asking, till when will this happen? The demonstrators who are demonstrating, will they have the energy to keep doing it? And then if they do, then what will be the final dance, or what will be the last dance for them to say they have been able to do a lot? Some arrests here you can be able to witness, and these are some of the individuals who are in a town. Organized or not, you wouldn't necessarily say that they are, but groupings and groupings, running battles. A number of them have been running and also throwing stones. I think here we are safe, quite safe, so we can be able to move towards the other officers who have been very, very busy. I think one of the busiest group of servicemen or police officers that have had a very, very kind of nightmarish affair trying to quell what others have said is not a peaceful demonstration, because stones have been thrown, tear gas canisters have been also halted, and it's just in the spirit of what is happening in the country, and we know what is happening in the country. So as much as as much as some of the protesters here want to chonjo kabisa, wanataka salamu and all that, I know there is a bigger picture, and as a country we have and we must have a very, very big conversation as to what should we do as a nation to be able to move forward, because issues are there in black and white, and we know the president said that he has accepted defeat, and while accepting defeat, it does not end there, because as a nation we have to talk, and the conversations have to be there. Then we'll try as much as possible to see what needs to be done. You can hear what some of the sentiments of this young man. I don't want to bring plenty of commotion here, because I know when a number of these individuals see the camera, they will try as much as possible to put their attention across. So we're trying as much as possible to go to the other end. So different sentiments, but if you ask me, the number of these young men that are trying to protest and make their statement out here in black and white, it's for a different mission and different purposes. And listen to the sentiments of those guys that have been speaking. nobody has talked about the finance bill as it were. So for them, you've been able to hear their sentiments, and while you're talking about their sentiments, you will agree that they have a different kind of an agenda altogether. Tafadhali, someone is trying to get my attention on this other end. So this is the scene. This has been one of the busiest streets in Nairobi at this particular day, because we had some bonfires earlier in the day. We've had a number of individuals being arrested. We've had the police officers trying as much as possible to deal with these youths, and you will agree that the running battles seems to be the order of the day. And the police officers, they have a plan because they have been able to position themselves differently, and they're trying to deal with the situation the best way that they can. But I know it looks like this will not be ending anytime soon. So I do suspect that again we will have the tear gas flying. At the same time, we'll have the police officers doing what they are doing, and also the demonstrators also trying as much as possible to have their say. Then the question will be, are they doing this because they want to go to the status? Do they do this because they want to go to parliament? Are they doing this because they want to access a different part of the CBD? If you ask me and what I've been able to see, others seems to be just enjoying the vibe. Others looks like they're getting a mellow euphoria by just being here and experiencing the running battle. It might be a kind of a nightmarish kind of an affair, and also the thinking that now comes to also the police and the servicemen. They are human beings, so sometimes they also get irritated, and you might see them acting in a way that you will say this is demeaning, but they are trying to be patient and also not to lob the tear gas canisters, but it gets to a point where it seems to say enough is enough, too much, and with that then they try as much as possible to take them away on their end. So this is the situation this particular time. Plenty is happening. I think we have to even to go behind this policeman, because stones at any particular given time, you might be able to see those stones flying to this end. But yes, this is a picture of what is happening at this region at this particular time, Jesse. So we're here. We will still keep vigil and tell you what is happening from this end. But plenty of activities, you will agree.
Wahisi, before we let you go, it would be proper to note, because we're almost nearing close of business, it would be proper to note if public transport has been paralyzed, crippled, especially since CBD is one of the areas where most of these PSVs have their bus stops. What exactly is happening in terms of transport?
From the National Archives, where we were some few minutes ago, at least there were some vehicles, not that many, but there were at least a number of vehicles there. But we were also earlier at Kencom, and Kencom has been cordoned off 100%. So quite sad, you will say, because from that end, people will not be able to move. So the policemen have been able to move at this particular time, and you can see the youths are coming. I'm just looking to make sure that no one is throwing the stones. But I know also when the policemen seem to go on that end, and then this youth again becomes rowdy, anything at any particular time might be able to happen. We're talking about stones, and yes, we are seeing some of these youths throwing the stones. And you know, anytime that the policemen retreat, then it means the youth now do advance, and you can be able to see they are advancing. And then the police will retreat a little bit, and then again they will charge. And in that now you will be able to see all that kind of an affair of tear gas and every other single kind of drama that comes with this kind. So the strategy of the police advancing, anytime from now, if you see a tear gas, someone is throwing a stone. I've been able actually to move my colleague here. We're trying as much as possible to be safe as we are telling you what is happening on this end. So the policemen have retreated. You've been able to see that. So when they retreat, and Jesse, earlier you had asked you had asked, yes, in black and white after retreating, the tear gas, and it becomes again running battles. A young man there almost injured, I think, but he's dancing to the tune that he was singing earlier on. So this is what is happening here. Again now, after retreating, the police again, and we will be able to follow them in close proximity just to show you what exactly is happening. Again, it becomes a seesaw affair, one which we don't have a winner because it will be retreat, surrender, again retreat, surrender for both sides. You had earlier asked about means of transport. I know at this particular time, a number of times we always have vehicles that go towards a thicker road. So you can see we don't have a single means of transport here at this particular time. And the young man here actually, he's saying alikuwa nangoja gari. We can't ascertain if that is the truth. But after the retreat of the policemen, they have been able to get one, maybe, of the protesters, and then they start that song again. So maybe can just let you see the live pictures of what is happening here at this particular time. But Jesse, you will agree that this will not end any minute now or any time soon, because the kind of the seesaw affair that has been here has been the part of the day, and we're trying as much as possible. I can also be able to look on the other side. That is just outside Odeon, because we had another group of policemen who I think they've been able to throw some tear gas canisters on that side, just again to make that group of the protesters again retreat maybe, and then they will regroup and they will be able to do it again. So it's not business as usual, Jesse, and also Seto, but we're trying as much as possible just to see how well the things here are transpiring. But the question then, I had asked earlier, till what time will they do it? They do not seem to tire, because when you think about the age of the most of the individuals who are part of the demos that are happening here today, then it's a tender age, and they have the energy. Do they have a plan really? I wouldn't say they have one, because it's going back, coming again, going back, coming again. But something that we must not, they seem to be enjoying what they're doing. Jesse.
Okay, Wahisi, that's a detailed update. Thank you so much, and kindly stay safe even as we see the groups retreating, regrouping, and then advancing, and then the police trying to suppress them. Those are the scenes that are characterizing the central business district in Nairobi. Pockets of running battles, secluded instances of exchanges between the police and some of those who have gathered in terms of protesting, even though we've seen some of the police capture or arrest some of the protesters, alleged protesters, and just seen one of them being released after being put to a few questions or so. I think this is around Pangani, Fig Tree, thereabout, where we've seen tear gas has been lobbed, a couple of youth making their way from that particular area, even as some cars, including public service vehicles, are trying to make their way into the CBD. So not much of activity, even though there is activity, especially in terms of heavy security presence in the capital, Nairobi. And it seems they've earmarked each and every entrance, because this is the side towards Pangani. Towards Uhuru Highway, we definitely saw the military personnel making their rounds, and inside the CBD, we've seen heavy deployment of security police officers, especially within key government installations and other areas where there might be a gathering of protesters. And it's also proper to note that the police are there to ensure that some of these businesses are not vandalized. The scenes that characterized the evening of Tuesday, we definitely saw some businesses affected, looted, their their goods were stolen, and it was definitely a cause of concern, bearing in mind President William Ruto had given the assurance that security is of utmost priority. So it seems heavy security presence still within the CBD. Earlier on, we put Moses Wahisi to task to explain what exactly is happening in terms of transport, because some of this youth might not be protesting. At the end of the day, some went to work, to their businesses, and at the close of business, they might be looking for ways to go home. We've just seen a bus right there, even as we've shifted focus to Kakamega County right now, where there seems to be a crowd gathered outside the Kakamega County Funeral Parlor. Remember, this is coming to you live right here on KTN News, so do stay with us as we continue highlighting what exactly is playing out in various parts of the country in regard to the anti-finance bill protests. Remember today, pockets of chasing battles between the police and the protesters. Not much to talk about, even as noted in Migori County, 4 gunshot wounds. There are actually 4 people who are surviving gunshot wounds and are getting medical attention at Migori County Hospital, including 2 police officers. But this is Kakamega County, and they seem to be holding a vigil, black candles, perhaps in support of the lives that were lost during the protest on Tuesday. There you have it, actually blue candles right there. And these are commonly associated to vigils where some of these protesters are just remembering those who might have lost their lives. Remember, according to various rights organizations, the tally of the dead is up to 23. But remember, just yesterday, President William Ruto gave the figure at 6 fatalities so far. And this is despite human rights activists claiming that up to 23 Kenyans had died during the protest. In terms of compensation, the president said a mechanism will be put in place to ensure that the families will be taken care of in one way or the other, not necessarily saying that verbatim, but hinting towards a mechanism being put in place. But that's the vigil happening in Kakamega. No running battles, just perhaps remembering what played out in the course of Tuesday, leading to a couple of lives being lost. The setter, you know what they say, one life is too many.
The president gave his number, the human rights, the civil society bodies gave their number. We just wait to see what next with regards to police excesses as well, because it has been largely claimed that police used excessive force while dealing with the demonstrators. And on the other side, one would also argue, but what do you expect to do when you attack the police? So it is a question of we wait to see how that goes, because even the Constitution itself talks of a peaceful protest and unarmed. So that on your right, that is the right side of your screen, that is Kakamega Funeral Parlor, as those there seem to be standing or waiting for someone who is in there. We'll wait to see as we get development from that area. But on the left of your screen, that is Nairobi CBD, as police continue to do rounds and making sure that they maintain security. We've seen police officers not taking chances, making sure that they actually kind of frisk everybody that is passing near them, especially those